Kim, since you're back from that extended vacation to the Bahamas, lead us in the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. I apologize for the cough, but I tested negative. In accordance with the provisions of the Act, the Portland Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published on January 13, 2022, and January 14, 2022, and posted on the district website at www.flboe.com, published in the board's designated online media newspapers, the Record and the Star Ledger, filed with the clerk of the Borough of Fort Lee, and mailed to all persons, if any, who have requested said notice. Please be advised that this meeting is being taped and may be broadcasted on local TV and the district's website at a future date. The Open Public Meeting Act allows for remote participation at board meetings and defines the word meeting as any gathering, whether corporal or by means of communication equipment, which is attended by or open to all of the members of a public body, held with the intent on the part of the members of the body present to discuss or act as a unit upon the specific public business of that body. May we please have roll call?
Ms. Cho?
Here.
Ms. Curry?
Here.
Ms. Morrell?
Celeste Lee. Oh, sure.
Ms. Richter?
Here.
Ms. Ramba?
Here.
Mr. Rubino?
Here.
Ms. Stasu?
Here.
Ms. Colbath?
Here.
You have quorum.
The board will be convening to executive session to discuss legal, personnel, and other confidential matters. The board will reconvene into public session at approximately 7:30 p.m. Before I entertain a motion to go into executive session, I just want to introduce Celeste Williams, who is the candidate who is on tonight's agenda to replace, difficult to replace, but Jamie Murphy as Director of Human Resources. So, hello, Celeste.
Hi, thank you so much for having me this evening. This is
The microphone.
okay. I'm not moving the shot, but.
You finished at 12 o'clock.
Hi, Celeste.
Hi, everyone. As you mentioned, my name is Celeste Williams. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm looking forward to working with everyone here in the district. And I'm super excited about the chance just to learn more about Fort Lee and become a member of the family.
So, thank you. So we're going to go into executive now, so we're going to ask you to go to a different part of the building during that, but then one of us will come in around 7:30, we go back into public.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. May I have a motion to go into executive session?
Motion.
Motion, Ramba, second, Rubino, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The floor is yours. So did I misread something before?
Yes, thank you all for coming, and for those of you on Zoom, I appreciate all your attendance in person as well as on Zoom. And I'd like to introduce Ms. Diane Baker, our Assistant Superintendent, who will be doing the presentation on the health and physical education.
We can get started. I'll move it for you.
For rehearsal this afternoon.
I'll move it for you. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Good Good evening, everyone. My name is Diane Baker. I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Schools here for Fort Lee, and I'm happy to be presenting tonight the district's upcoming revised health curriculum. I understand that there are concerns regarding some of the new content that's going to be taught, as well as how the district will be implementing these new additions. So it's my hope that at the end of this presentation, along with the lessons that were shared with families last night, that it will clear up some lingering questions. If not, we have the Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Next slide. So tonight we have a few objectives for the presentation. The first is to provide, thank you so much. The first is to provide an overview of the New Jersey Department of Education requirements and how these requirements will be implemented in our schools. The second is to provide an overview of our K-12 health curriculum to be implemented in the 22-23 school year. We're hoping to demonstrate how to access and navigate our full curriculum using our management system, Atlas Online. We want to inform parents and guardians of their rights regarding their child's health education. And lastly, to answer any lingering questions regarding our district's health curriculum in order to keep the lines of communication open between the schools and parents and the community, so that parents can make the best possible decision for their child's health education. So before we move forward with the curriculum, I think it's important to understand just what standards are when educators talk about standards. So when we speak of standards, we're talking about specific learning goals K-12 students must master by the end of a grade level or a grade level band. And I included a link to all of the New Jersey Student Learning Standards on the DOE website so that you can view them at your leisure. So how are the NJSLS developed? We say NJSLS short for New Jersey Student Learning Standards, and adopted. First and foremost, school districts do not develop, nor do they adopt New Jersey Student Learning Standards. By law, that is the responsibility of the State Board of Education. And I included the law on this website so that you could actually see the specific steps by which the State Board of Education develops and adopts standards. So the first step is that the State Board initiates a review of standards every 5 years. Following that step, the commissioner is tasked with convening a panel, an advisory panel, to make recommendations of changes that will be made to those standards. The commissioner presents those recommendations for revisions to the State Board of Education. The State Board of Education has a public meeting, and then following that, the State Board of Education has public hearings to collect feedback from stakeholders, from parents, educators, about the recommendations for revisions that are being made. Then, at a subsequent meeting, the State Board of Education votes to either approve or reject the recommendations made by the Commissioner of Education. It's not until those standards are adopted that districts actually develop their curriculum. So once the State Board of Education adopts those standards, that is when districts receive the standards, and we have to develop our curriculum to align to those standards. Are schools required to teach the NJSLS, the New Jersey Student Learning Standards? Yes, they are, by law. And the law is included up here on the screen. Administrative Code, Curriculum and Instruction. District boards of education shall ensure that curriculum and instruction are delivered in such a way that all students are able to demonstrate the knowledge and skills specified by the NJSLS. And in addition to that, all of our curriculum documents have to include modifications for different groups of learners. So that is the law. So once the standards are adopted by the State Board of Education, then districts have to develop their curriculum. This is our district's process. It's actually a condensed process. So for tonight, I condensed it into a few bullets. First, our district forms a committee of teachers. The teachers get together with an administrator, typically a department supervisor. The committee reviews the changes that were made to the standards and evaluates the current curriculum. Then the committee of teachers makes recommendations as to how we can implement these standards into our curriculum. The committee identifies resources needed. And then after that, teachers begin to write the curriculum. So you can see there are a number of steps that occur before the curriculum writing actually begins. After the curriculum is written, it's approved by the department supervisor and the assistant superintendent. Then the new and/or revised curriculum is submitted to the Board of Education for approval. Once the Board of Education approves it, it becomes official and it gets posted on our district website. And later on in the presentation, I will show you where you can view all of our curriculum documents. So now that we've covered some of the general information about the process, now we'll take a deeper dive into understanding the comprehensive health and physical education standards. Tonight, I'm going to mostly focus on the health standards though. So the comprehensive health and physical education standards are organized into 4 grade level bands. There are a certain number of standards that have to be covered between grades kindergarten and 2nd grade. There are a certain number of standards that have to be covered between 3rd and 4th grade. And the same goes for by the end of 8th grade, and then the same by the end of 12th grade. So for example, for the groups of standards that have to be covered by the end of 2nd grade, districts actually have the autonomy to decide whether those standards or which standards are going to be covered in kindergarten, 1st, or 2nd grade. But for the sake of these standards, not all the standards have to be covered in kindergarten, just by the end of 2nd grade. Another way in which the standards are organized is by core disciplinary concepts. There are 3 core disciplinary concepts by which the comprehensive health and physical education standards are organized. The first core concept is 2.1, personal and mental health. And underneath that column, you will see the sub-concepts that have to be covered under that core concept. 2.2, physical wellness, and the sub-concepts that have to be covered under the core concept. And third, 2.3, safety, as well as what you see underneath are the subtopics that have to be covered under that core idea. With regards to health, most of the standards that we cover in our health curriculum fall under the 2.1, personal and mental health, and the 2.3 core concepts. The 2.2 concepts typically fall in your traditional physical education period, physical education course. However, it's quite possible that you will have something like emotional health being covered in PE, because we know that there is a direct correlation between emotional health and physical activity. So it's quite possible that during physical education, the physical education teacher is talking about that. I really think this chart is important to understand how a core idea is presented and progresses throughout a child's educational experience. So for example, I selected the pregnancy and parenting topic so that we could take a look at how this is covered across the 4 grade level bands. So by the end of grade 2, simply students need to learn that all living things reproduce. They're not learning pregnancy. That is required by the state. By the end of grade 5 into grade 8 and 12, the teaching of the concept becomes more complex, and it transitions into pregnancy can be achieved through a variety of methods, as well as factors that affect the social, emotional, and financial challenges that are associated with parenthood, and all of the decisions that are involved with pregnancy and childbirth by the end of grade 12. So you can see how that foundational concept by the end of 2nd grade is progressed throughout the grade levels through high school. So over the course of the next several slides, what's included are some of the most significant changes to the standards. There were many changes made to the standards, but then this presentation will be a lot more slides. So what I included were the most significant standards, so that if parents wanted to go back and refer to this at a later date, you can go back to this presentation, which will be online, and refer to it. But these are some of the most significant changes made to the standards, and they are included here. So here you have personal and mental health by the end of grade 2, safety by the end of grade 2, that's the 2.3, and then I'm going to stop here. So by the end of grade 5, I just want to draw everybody's attention to the first standard, because I want to make sure we have a clear understanding of how to read what's in parentheses when it's attached to a standard. So standard 2.1.5.PGD, which stands for personal growth and development, point 4, you will see language, explain common human sexual development and the role of hormones. And then you'll see language in parentheses. What you see in parentheses are options, they're examples. It is not required. What is outside of the parentheses is what's required. So, for example, when I met with the 5th and 6th grade health teachers, we decided which pubescent changes we were going to cover by the end of 5th grade with regards to this standard. Not all of the language that you see in the parentheses is being covered. And if you want to know what's being covered, that was shared in the lessons from last week, and it's being included online. So I'm just going to continue to scroll through these slides. And again, the PowerPoint presentation is going to be available for your viewing on our website. In addition to the standards, we also have a series of New Jersey laws that have to be implemented in our curriculum. I included the 5 new laws that we have to include in our comprehensive health and physical education curriculum in this upcoming year. The first is instruction in mental health, instruction related to sexual abuse and assault awareness and prevention education. Consent has to be covered in grades 6 through 12. Sexting has to be covered someplace in middle school. And the New Jersey Safe Haven Infant Protection Act has to be covered in high school. And that last act, the New Jersey Safe Haven Infant Protection Act, references the ability that parents or representative of parents are allowed to relinquish a newborn baby to staff in an emergency room, the police department, the fire department, anonymously. So that is something that we are covering in our curriculum because that is now law. So now that we have a little bit of an overview of the standards, we're going to get a little bit more granular and dive into our actual grade level curriculum, starting with the grade 2 and grade 4 health curriculum. So someone might have a question as to why don't we have curriculum in kindergarten or first and third grade? That's because we don't have to, because remember when I mentioned the grade level bands, standards have to be covered by the end of grade 2. So that doesn't mean that certain content won't be covered in their grade levels. We'll be covering mental health, students do mindfulness exercises, physical activity in PE, but only grades 2 and 4 will have designated health units. What will health instruction look like in grades 2 and 4? Health lessons will take place during the class's designated physical education period. Lessons will be taught in larger groups, which is the same format at which physical education is taught. PowerPoints and videos are going to be used to supplement, to support the teacher-directed instruction, and paraprofessionals assigned to PE will assist with the logistics of the class. Here are your grade 2 and grade 4 health units. And if you look across the units, you will see that a variety of content is being covered. Not necessarily just sexual education and gender identity, but you see content such as health conditions, self-care practices, emotional health. So these are all of the other concepts that are being covered in health. In grade 2, the last unit of the year, unit 5, reproduction and personal safety, that's where much of the sensitive top content is going to be covered. It's going to be covered at the end of the year. Why did we choose to do that? Because as a committee, we felt that we wanted our students to be at their maturest age possible by when we had to cover these standards. So we put it at the end of May and June. Remember, these standards are required to be covered by the end of grade 2 by the State Board of Education. In grade 4, you only have 3 units. That's particularly because we had a choice. Do we cover certain standards in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade? Or do we wait until 5th grade up until the last opportunity that we have to cover these standards? And that's what we did. So much of the health content is being covered by the end of 5th grade, which is the absolute latest that we can cover it. Our grade 5 and 6 health curriculum. Here are the units of study. In grades 5 and 6, students receive PE daily for 3 marking periods, and they receive health daily for 1 marking period out of the school year. The marking period at which students are assigned is dependent on the scheduling that is done at the building level. However, we're doing something a little different for 5th grade, and that is that Unit 4, puberty, reproduction, and gender stereotypes, that is not going to be taught during a 1st, a 2nd, or 3rd marking period. We are going to teach that content to all of the fifth graders at the same time at the end of the year. Why? Those particular standards in that unit, we're required to teach them by the end of fifth grade. We're waiting to the end of the year so that students don't get that content at different times in the year, talk to one another, maybe have some misunderstandings, and so we're putting it at the end of the year as late as possible. In grade 6, there are your units of study. And later on in the presentation, I will show you exactly how to take a look at the complete comprehensive view of each unit. Grade 7 and 8 health curriculum. Here are your units of study for each grade level. So again, these are the topics. A variety of topics are being covered, not just necessarily sexual education. Most of the sexual education topics, if not all, are being covered in grade 8. Again, we are absolutely waiting until the very end of the grade level band of when we can cover these concepts. And we also think that by the time they get to 8th grade, they're in their building, their middle school for 2 years. They've been with their physical education teacher for 2 years. They might feel more comfortable in a setting talking to their PE teacher or health teacher about these concepts. And now for the grade 9 through 12 health curriculum. Grade 9 will have a traditional health curriculum. There you have the units of study, wellness and nutrition. You also have drugs, alcohol, and health conditions and diseases, and then Project Adventure, which is a program that gets integrated throughout the school year. The grade 10 health curriculum is focused on driver's education. That's been historically done in our high school for years. Grade 11, that is when their health curriculum is focused on CPR training. And in grade 12, we have the family life curriculum that focuses mostly on sexual education and sexual health. This is not a new curriculum. That family curriculum has been in place in the high school for years. They've always covered these topics. I will say the one new topic that's being covered is related to sex trafficking. That is a brand new topic for the high school as well as 8th grade. And so now that you've seen the units, we're going to talk about the instructional resources. Now, a lot of this content is not new. Some of it is, but a lot of it is not. And so health teachers over the years have collected resources that they've used that have worked with students to teach these concepts. However, we recognize that some of the new concepts, we needed a little help with resources. So the committee selected the Rights, Respect, and Responsibility curriculum to cover some of the new content. We selected this resource because the lessons are medically accurate, they are aligned to the new standards, particularly the new standards that cover the most sensitive topics like sexual assault, sex trafficking, and the lessons also provide a very detailed step-by-step process and specific language that will help teachers teach these sensitive concepts to students. And then the other caveat was that the organization actually allows us to customize and modify the lessons to suit how we want to teach health in Fort Lee, but also still remain compliant with covering the standards. And I want to show you an example of what an adapted lesson looks like. So here is one lesson. It was shared in the drive last week with families. It's a lesson that we are using in grade 2. It's called Understanding Our Bodies. And it's the standard that covers lists medically accurate names for body parts, including the genitals. You will see that under the title of this lesson, a red box that says an adapted lesson plan. Where you see this in our curriculum means that we revised the lesson. We customized it to suit our health program. One of the ways we revised this particular lesson is that, and I hope you can all see, but under learning objectives, the first objective states correctly identify at least one body part of the female genitals. That's part of the standard. The original lesson actually states correctly identify at least 4 body parts, but we revised it. because the standard doesn't say how many body parts children need to recognize. So we decrease the number to 1. And so that's one way in which we revised this lesson. We revised multiple lessons, we revised some language, we revised some activities, so that it was suitable to what we wanted to do in our classrooms, also remaining compliant with the law to cover the standard. What I do want to tell you though is that if you decide to Google Advocates for Youth and you go online and you read their lessons, please know that what you see on their website, 99% of the time is not going to match what we're actually doing. So if you want to view our lessons, please go to our curriculum. Please read the lessons that are in the Google Drive document that I shared with you, because that accurately reflects what we're going to teach in our classrooms. How will teachers address students' questions and comments? We are fully aware that while teachers may have a script, that classrooms are dynamic environments and children are inquisitive and they're going to ask questions. We cannot necessarily stop that. We want that to happen. We want children to feel safe and comfortable in our classrooms. Unplanned, unanticipated conversations happen in our classrooms every single day, and teachers do their very best to navigate those conversations to the best of their abilities. However, depending on the nature of the question, teachers can decide how they want to approach that question or statement from the child. Some of the things that they might do is, depending on the question, they might answer it directly. They might answer the question privately with the student. They might decide to keep a question box in their classrooms and tell students, if you have any lingering questions, write them down, put them in the box. The teacher will review them and decide what questions can be covered in the next class and which ones might have to be handled a little bit more in a delicate manner. They also may sit down with the student and identify someone that the student can talk to about a particular question, such as a parent or a counselor. And in fact, for some of the lessons that we're going to be conducting, a counselor is going to be present. So how do parents and community and the public access our district curriculum? Our district curriculum has been accessible on our website for years. So I just want to show you how to go about accessing it now. When you go to our district website, you will click on Curriculum and Instruction, and then you will click on District Curriculum. That will take you to our customized curriculum site, and you will click the link at the bottom in the red box, Fort Lee Public Schools Curriculum. You can use the filters to locate the specific curriculum document you want to view, and I'm showing this because you might want to know what your child's going to learn in math. You might want to know what they're learning in science. So I just want to clear this up so that you know how to do this in your homes. Search by grade and subject, and then click Browse. You will arrive at a screen that looks like this. In order to view the curriculum, you will need to select the course. We're looking at second grade here, and second grade health and physical education are combined into one course. Here is our pacing guide for second grade. Our pacing guide will show you the exact unit titles, the duration of each unit, and the period during the school year where each unit is going to be taught. If you want to view a more detailed unit plan, all you need to do is click the unit title, and that will bring you to their learning objectives, the resources, the lessons, websites, anything that the teacher is using to cover that content in that unit. So this is how you access our full district curriculum. So now we're going to talk about your rights as parents and excusal from program. Can my child be excused from health education? Yes, it's the law. So the code is called Parents' Statement of Conflict with Conscience. Any child whose parent or guardian presents to the school principal a signed statement that any part of the instruction in health, family life education, or sex education is in conflict with his conscience or sincerely held moral or religious beliefs shall be excused from that portion of the course where such instruction is being given, and no penalties as to credit or graduation shall result therefrom. But I do want to make it clear, by law, parents have to request for their child to be excused based on these reasons. So how does a parent submit this statement of conflict? Well, at the beginning of each year, there are a series of forms that parents have to fill out in the Genesis Employee Portal. We are going to include the parent excusal from health instruction in those forms for parents to complete. Parents can select from a list of topics from which they want their child to be excused during health class. Parents must sign and digitally submit the form, regardless of whether or not they want their child to be excused. And then principals and teachers can easily access that information through Genesis. And we are going to be sending that form out multiple times during the school year. So this is how that form is going to be completed, because we want to try to minimize paper copies coming to and from home, because we want to make sure we identify the students as soon as possible. What happens when a child is excused from health instruction? It's actually in our board policy. So board policy 5250, excusal from class or program, states that, I'm just gonna skim down to the bottom, that additional alternate assignments have to be given, have to be provided to the child, and that no excused pupil will be penalized by loss of credit as a result of his or her excusal, but the student will be held accountable for successful completion of any alternate program assigned. So there will be alternative projects and or activities assigned to those children that are excused from health class. If excused, where will my child go during health class? Students will be supervised by certificated personnel in an alternate location or room in the school building to be determined by the building principal. Personnel responsible for supervision and alternate locations will be dependent on the number of students excused from health at a particular time. So please understand, depending on the building, depending on the number of students that are being excused, that's going to determine how the principal logistically handles that in the school building, but students will be supervised and they will be given the alternate activities and projects to complete. This is going to be handled discreetly. This is going to be handled privately. And K-6 students will be sent to their location before their class actually arrives at the gym or at their PE location. So that concludes my presentation for now. I know that we have a Q&A session at the end, but I did want to close by acknowledging the physical education and health teachers that volunteered to be on this committee. They had a very difficult project to accomplish. And I have to say that as a former supervisor of humanities, I never had the opportunity to work closely with them. This gave me the opportunity to do that. And I will say that they showed up every day wanting to make sure that they did the right thing by the standards as well as the students. These teachers truly love the kids that they service and they love what they do. And I just kind of wanted to acknowledge them because they're not here. If I say their names, they would probably kill me right now, so I'm not going to do that. But I just wanted to express my gratitude towards them because they do very, very important work, and I just wanted to recognize that. And so now is the time for our question and answer period.
Sure.
Okay?
So if anyone has any questions or comments on the presentation, we'll take those now. You want to sit and let them go to the mic, or?
That might be.
Yeah. So if you come to the microphone and identify your name and address.
So, my name is Stuart, I live in 268 Harmon.
Please speak in the microphone, sorry.
My name is Stuart, I live in Harmon Avenue, and I have a 6-year-old daughter, and I just want to know if you guys have kids, how old are your kids? Are your kids in first grade, second grade? It's kind of rhetorical, because if your kid was young enough, you will not want to teach this kind of things to your kid. It doesn't make sense. My daughter is 6, so she's going to be 8 when she's going to be learning about pregnancy. Pregnancy is a loaded question. Pregnancy is not just that, it's not reproduction. It comes with a lot more information that I don't want my daughter to know. And for sure, I can exclude my daughter from this curriculum classes. But she's going to be hanging out with kids that are older than her. And you waking up something that is not to be waking yet. A kid needs to be worried about playing in the gym, playing with toys, bicycles, not about masturbation or pregnancy or condoms or anything. And second of all, who gets to choose who's gonna be teaching that to our kids? How do I know they're good enough with intentions there? Can someone tell me? You got classes going on from first to second, but there's gonna be a lot of Easter eggs from here to there until they start learning all those things. So that means they're gonna be learning from first grade, from kindergarten, first grade, and so on.
Well, as I stated, and I understand, I hear what you're saying. As I stated in the presentation, there will be designated help units in second grade. We are not teaching this in kindergarten, we're not teaching this in first grade. And with students, and I just want to put it out there, masturbation is not going to be one of the stages that we teach. We're not saying it.
I understand, but pregnancy is not just pregnancy. You cannot just be reproduction comes this way. A man and a female have to have intercourse. You started to mention penis, vagina, and all the thing. Semen. You gotta talk about that. How can someone talk about that to a little kid?
So how pregnancy happens?
I'm 100% sure if you have a kid that is 6 or 7 years old, you don't want your kid to hear those things. At least none of us did when we were
We hear you,
kids.
we hear what you're saying.
That doesn't make sense because you guys are rolling with this. Like,
Okay,
how is it
do you,
possible?
sir, do you have a question? We understand your position and that you're opposed, and I think we've all heard, and we're listening.
I want to know who
But
is
if
choosing the teachers and why is this happening? Why is sexual education so important for such a young kid? Why isn't it better nutrition? Look at the kids gaining weight for nothing. They don't keep active.
Well, we
How
have,
about nutrition? Teach them a trade, something that is going to be valuable for the future. I don't need my daughter to know how to masturbate
I
in pregnancy.
understand, but as was set forth in the PowerPoint presentation, this directive came to us from the Department of Education. And so,
But there's a lot of times who say no to this sexual action of kids. I don't have to. It's enough that we have to worry with the social media, the TV sexualizing everything, awakening kids so far that they don't need to. For us to worry that we have to think about school, like I'm really considering keeping my daughter at home because I don't want her to talk about penis, vagina, pregnancy, and all the loaded things that come with it. It's just not right. I just want to know why. I just want to know why is sexual education so important for young kids. That's my question.
and the question is that, these topics were decided by our elected representatives, and our district has done what it can to minimize the standards. And minimize
Well, no, I'm just
the
gonna say
lessons.
this, and then I'm gonna go sit down so somebody else can
Okay.
speak, because I'm not much of a talker, but I do understand that I have to protect my daughter from this. And if you don't have a kid that is young enough, if your kid is 12, 15, you fine, you pass this terrible times. They're grown, and my kid's young. If you don't have a young kid, you're not doing anything here. You're not protecting, you're not for our kids. You are here for whatever it is that you're getting out of here. Because if you care about the young kids,
Let me jump in real quick. You don't know how everyone feels here. And you'll see how I feel.
obviously I do, because you haven't done anything. You're just going with, you're just rolling with the punches.
Wait till the-
If you really care about this, if you really care about the kids, you're gonna say, no, we don't want that. We wanna teach our kids nutrition, we wanna teach better reading, writing, script, something better. Not masturbation and pregnancy. How do you go to sleep at night thinking that you're giving out the young kids these
So,
things?
we generally operate with a 3-minute time limit, but we're suspending that, but there are a lot of other people that want to be heard. And so why don't we let someone else, but we're listening.
Yeah, I understand. You didn't have an answer for my question. I don't know why you saw the porn section, but it's fine. Maybe someone else has a better question.
The question was, why are we doing this? And we have to develop the curriculum because under the law, we have to. All right, tonight's
So if the law tells you that you gotta cuff kids to the chair, handcuff the kids to the chair so they can listen better, you will do it because the law says it.
Well,
That doesn't make sense.
the curriculum
Kids should not learn about
Sir,
that. You know
the curriculum
that.
is on tonight's agenda as part of 3CUR, okay? So the board hasn't approved the curriculum yet, and it needed to be drafted and presented. So let's hear from, and again, we're listening.
And just to say this, there's nothing to be proud that teachers are being happy to teach this stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know what's to be, I don't wanna talk that about with my daughter.
So
I
let
don't
us
want my
hear,
mom to talk about
sir, I
this.
forgot what your first name is, but let us hear from some other people too, because we have other business, and we've listened. Yes, sir.
How you doing? My name is Boris, and I live in Fort Lee. I live on Horizon Road, and I pull my kids out of private school because I thought the public school in New Jersey, in Fort Lee rather, very good. I'm having second thoughts because I receive sexual and reproductive anatomy. My daughter is she's 9-year-old, she's going to be in the 5th grade. So here's the question. Correctly name at least 2 parts of 2 sexual and reproductive systems. Describe the functions of at least 2 parts of each of 2 sexual and reproductive systems. Define sexual intercourse with the context of human reproduction. How many systems we have in our body? We have 11 systems. Cardiovascular, skeletal, respiratory, lots of other systems. Why are we focusing on sexual reproduction system for 5-year-olds? For 5th graders? Is it so important for our kids, 5th graders, to know all this? So the high school kids are learning about driving, but 5th graders are learning about sex. Is it normal? My kids are innocent.
Yeah.
My kids are innocent. They know nothing about nothing yet. It's not time for them to learn. I don't know who decided that age of 9 they need to know all this nonsense and the questions they need to answer. It's all from your website. It's all that you recommended. Okay. So the question: where do testicles live? Tell me, where do they live? No, you tell me. You're gonna teach my children. Why are you so quiet?
I've tried to answer your
Oh, you
question.
try to, okay, I'm listening. Where do they live?
So I know where they are. I've had sexual education
Fantastic. At what age? At what age you have your
in
sexual
my life.
education?
In
At
middle
9?
in
At
middle school.
age of 9?
It is the standard.
Whose standard is that? It's
It
not
is-
my standard. It's not the standard of many people.
Sir, we're gonna answer questions, but let's not get into a debate, okay? If you have a question.
It is a debate. At a public forum, it's a public
Not
debate.
tonight, we're not.
Parents who are here
We're
are
not gonna
concerned.
debate with the administrator. We're gonna try to the best of our ability, answer your questions.
Yeah, that's a debate.
I understand.
You know, what's next? You're gonna say that you're gonna teach my children there are more than 2 genders? How many genders? Tell me. How many genders are there?
So.
Not so. How many?
I'm not.
Let her respond. to
How
your
many
question, sir.
genders are there? You're gonna tell my kids that you miraculously can become from boy to girl and the other way around by swapping parts? Why are you so quiet? You are the educators who adopted this garbage. You are the educators who adopted this garbage.
Sir, that has.
Okay, one question. What's a woman? Tell me, what is a woman? Give me a definition of a woman.
A woman is somebody who has who was born a woman, that has the biological parts of a woman.
Fantastic, thank you.
Okay, you're
I'm
so
I'm
I
satisfied.
understand that these are sensitive topics. I understand the concern that you have. I can't say that more than enough. You have the option. I went through in the presentation as to how these standards came to be and how they have to be covered.
Okay, and you also told us that there is an option of replacement
Yeah.
of this whatever ideology is trying to teach our children, because it's ideology. It has nothing to do with anything, with science. All of a sudden, 9-year-olds must learn. how to reproduce, how humans reproduce. Before they learn everything else. We jump straight to the sexual reproduction. Before they learn how anatomy and other parts of our bodies work.
Okay, so we.
So, but anyways, how do I know? Okay, my last question. So you said there is an alternative to that study. How do I know you guys not repackaging same thing in the different form?
It will be a different topic. It'll be a different topic of health, such as nutrition. It'll be something different. It's not going to be within the same realm because you are already requesting to be excused from any type of instruction related to sexual education or gender identity or whatever topics you select in your excusal form. So we're not going to then create alternative activities or projects that fall into the same content. It will be different content.
And I think if I understood previous comment correctly, his question was, how do we know that the teacher who's teaching those objects or subjects is actually, not a predator?
Well, when we hire, there is a background check.
Okay, yeah, background check. I wanna know. Yeah.
There is a background, can I answer?
Sure.
So there is a background check, there are fingerprints that are done. There is an extensive process during the hiring to make sure that no one we hire has a criminal history, let alone a criminal history of that nature. There are laws attached to that. So that's how we know. The second thing I will say is that every teacher that we have in this district is a certified professional. They have been trained to teach this content, and we offer additional professional development to them as well.
And by the way, that organization that you mentioned,
Yes.
advocates for youth, that it's 99% of what they're talking about you're not teaching, so why would adopt their ideology? If most of what's there, you're not teaching.
Well, because when we adopt core resources, and I would say this to anything, I was a former language arts supervisor. We adopt resources. We don't necessarily follow every single resource verbatim. Your resource is not your curriculum. So we have math books. We don't always teach every single math lesson the way in which it's designed in the teacher's guide. We revise it and we adapt it to the kids that we're teaching.
So, because I took time to look at the site. It's a bunch of transgenders who are
We appreciate your
going after
comments.
our children.
We appreciate your comments.
Hi, my name is Sophia. I live at 268 Herman Avenue.
And Sophia, before you start, if anyone else intends to talk, if you could just form a line so that we kind of know we have some other business. So if you want to speak, if you could just form a line behind her so we could see who wants to speak. Go ahead.
My first question, if other towns or other states have already said no to this bill, why are we saying yes?
Well, every school district in the state of New Jersey is required to teach these standards. They're called the New Jersey Student Learning Standards. So whether you live in Crestkill, whether you live in Edgewater, whether you live in Newark, you are required to teach these standards.
But specific standards that you reviewed?
Yes.
Okay.
The standards that were posted, the New Jersey Student Learning Standards, every school district in New Jersey is required to have curriculum aligned to these standards.
Okay, so if it's the law to teach this curriculum, but there is also another law that we can opt out, and you're gonna give them another type of curriculum, why can't we just start with that curriculum?
Because
It'll
we're not
soften it for the kids, because it's disgusting everything that you guys wanna teach
because
to the kids.
it's not, what we're giving them is not another curriculum. We're giving them an alternative activity and or project in a different topic.
And the alternative topic, will that be sent home, or will that be taught here with the teacher?
We can certainly send home the activities that are being done so that parents.
Okay, and there's also another sneaky type of phrasing that I saw in the paper. It says by the end of grade 2, by the end of grade 5. So that doesn't mean it's gonna begin in grade 2. You guys can like sprinkle in like sexual innuendos or whatever in grade 1, in kindergarten, right?
But I just stated that we're not doing that.
And how do we know you're gonna continue? Because you said that one of the papers will be sent out periodically for us to sign and opt out.
So the reason why we're sending them out periodically is because the units are going to change So what we want to make sure is that with every marking period or with every trimester, we want to make sure parents, especially new parents that come into our district after September, we want to also give those parents an opportunity to view that form. You're welcome.
Hi, everybody. Excuse me. My name is Mohammed. I live in Anderson Avenue. I'm just not going to go into details what I think of this curriculum, how everybody is reacting to it, because I don't think this is the place. Honestly, I don't believe you guys have the authority to even decide, except it or not. So it's useless. Just let's pick our battles. So no, it's not useless, but you know what I'm saying. So this has been imposed to you, and we have to abide. So here's my question. You were saying if the pupil will decide not to follow this course that you guys call health, which is, for me, health is cold. So if the pupil decides not to follow this course, he's going to be given an alternative programs, correct? What do these programs consist of? What are they going to be? Physical activities? It's going to be a material, physics, math, algorithm? It's going to be something very useful to them, or just waste of time?
So we have to provide, because health education is required, we have to provide alternate activities and programs within the realm of health. But they do not have to fall under the topic of sexual reproduction, sexual health. It could be a totally different area of health education.
It could be, so you still don't have a program for that, right?
No, that's something that we're working with the teachers, and every year, because I did speak to them about this, there are students that do get excused. This isn't the first time we're dealing with this. So they do provide alternate activities.
Okay.
And so that is something that we had to develop the curriculum. Now that we've developed the curriculum, then we can certainly go back and review the alternate.
Because you see, my concern, I don't want my son, who's 10 years old, to be excused from this health program and then being indirectly punished by sitting somewhere in the program doing nothing, just wasting his time.
No, they will be assigned educational activities to complete and projects to complete, as they have in the past when this has happened. Again, the parent excusal is not new. That's been law for a long time, as well as the board policy. And you can tell that it's actually outdated because they're still using the word pupil. So any new policy, they're using the word student. So it's been in effect for a while. And teachers have said the ability to, for parents to request that their child be excused from health education.
Okay, so that takes me to my following question now. Practically, if I want my son to be excused from this, what do I have to do exactly? Write a form? You're gonna send us a form? Or?
So what's going to happen is that in Genesis Parent Portal in the beginning of the year, you will be asked to complete a series of forms. For example, one of those forms sometimes is a photo release, right? Where parents can decide whether or not they give the district permission to use their child's likeness in a photo. One of those forms is going to be the parent excusal.
Okay. And
that's where you can complete it.
And this is to be filled online. And submitted online.
And submitted online. So that what the schools can do internally is easily identify those children. They're not dealing with paper copies of forms that can get lost.
Okay.
So we can easily prepare at the beginning of the school year.
Yeah, logistic reason.
Correct. It's just make the process a little bit more efficient and organized.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I read the health curriculum, and honestly, I think it's disgusting. But that's beyond. Thank you.
My name is Daniel, live in Arcadian Way. I have twofold questions. The first one, I know where your position is, because just from the small sample size, it seems to be quite an unpopular topic. And just for me, what woke me up was just the young age at second grade. I mean, at 7 years old seems to bridge too far, and I speak for most people here. And so that compelled me, because I'm not somebody that comes to me saying it's probably the first time you've seen me. And there has to be a red line at a certain point, like a 7-year-old talking about genitalia seems to bridge kind of far for most people. And then the question I guess I have for you, because I wasn't really following the process, it seems to me there is not overwhelming support for this curriculum, particularly for second graders. Am I wrong on that matter?
I mean, based on the audience that you see here, that would, appear, but we have 4,100 students in our district, and this is something that is very popular and controversial across the state, so we're not alone in this. So, I haven't put out a survey, so I'm not exactly sure what the breakdown is between people that are.
Okay, we have someone, if you all want to have a chance, we'll stop the Q&A. There's a gentleman who's asking questions and getting the answers. We don't need a lot of rumbling from the rest of the crowd. Let him make his points.
So, okay, I mean, to me it seems quite unpopular, but from this general crowd, and I just kind of confused in how this curriculum has gotten pushed through to our town, and what is the recourse if there's a critical mass to kind of scale things back, because I think most parents are not too on board with particularly second graders learning about matters they have no clue about.
So when we talk about curriculum, we're talking about the way in which, the order in which we teach it. But I think what you're referring to is the actual standard, because you're talking about the specific content about genitalia that's actually in the standard. And so that is something that comes from the State Board of Education and legislators. That's where it comes from. And that the standards have already been adopted, and we are now required to implement them by this September. So while it's unpopular, it's something that by law we are required to do.
Sir, you had your opportunity.
So it's still a little bit confusing to me for the most part, because I do feel, if I'm mistaken, some of you are a little bit uncomfortable too, teaching folks at 7 years old such matters. I mean, that's the feeling I'm getting from some of the folks here on this board. But that being said, I think given the diversity of the Fort Lee population, are you going to make sure that this consent form to release your children will be in different languages? Or, for example, Spanish, I'm sure is commonly spoken, Korean, because I don't think some of the immigrant community here is fully understanding the states and what the issues are at hand. So are there going to be translations for people in this diverse community to opt out?
We can certainly look into that. We can talk about that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tanya. Byers K. I live at 275 Tom Hunter Road. I know about the opt-out because I've been opting out of the health class since last year. And you're right, many of the things were on there already from last year. I emailed Mrs. Baker at the beginning of last year and asked her for a copy of the health curriculum for both grades for my children, and she sent it over. I was uncomfortable with it morally, the way that my family is. It didn't suit it, so I didn't know there was a thing on Genesis, but now there is. But I wrote a letter I immediately approached the administrator and went forward with that. But I was looking through things and I was wondering on, as the example that they used in the curriculum of a healthy relationships are all around us. And it seems that they used Beyonce and Jay-Z as an example of a healthy relationship. And I don't think that's accurate, because this is a couple who, the music, and it says the reason why. Why do you think this is a healthy relationship? Please give examples. Talk to each other They talk to each other a lot in the media, always in positive ways. They started a family together and both seem really into each other whenever you see them in pictures. That's not good. So obviously we know my child is not going to be there, but I think we can find a better example of a healthy couple. Maybe someone in their 80s that's been married 50 or 60 years and has a successful family. You know, we would not like to emulate a couple where the gentleman calls women negative names and says bad words, and it's not appropriate. I appreciate the work that's gone into, I know this is an uncomfortable situation. That was the one thing that really stuck out with me when I was reading. I said, well, but anyway, I appreciate your time, and you know how I feel about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. We can talk about that. I think that's something we can fix.
Hi, everyone. Mike Osso, Block 10, Block 551, 230 Warren Avenue, Fort Lake. Ms. Baker, how many parents helped out with the writing of the curriculum?
We didn't have parents on the committee.
Why?
Well, because our process, it's not necessarily something that we usually do, but I will tell you this, that over the last few months, with the parents that have been calling in, we definitely took that feedback under advisement. Based on the emails that I've received, I haven't received notice. I have received notice via email, not necessarily just from board meetings and phone calls. And feedback is always welcome, and that's something we can look into doing in the future. And also, we're here tonight definitely to hear feedback from the community. So that's something that we can look into.
The NJEA, private parental input, educators and parents agree that the best, most transformative education happens with parents and educators working together. Did parents work together with the curriculum writers?
Parents did not work together with the curriculum writers.
In the New Jersey School Boards Association, parents should have input. The New Jersey School Boards Association says parents should have a seat at the table for these kind of instances. Did parents partake in any of the curriculum we're talking about tonight?
Well, I think at a direct seat at the table during a formal meeting that we had, parents from the community, no. What I will say, though, is that we do meet with our board curriculum committee. We do have parents in our district that are on the board, and also we always have our curriculum posted at a public agenda every single year to be reapproved, where we seek public comment. And so parents we post it, it's public. Our curriculum is also posted public all year long, and we do a presentation. Actually, when we do a presentation about our district data, we talk about curriculum, and we talk about the changes, and we seek public comment that way.
Okay. Who's really responsible for teaching our children sex education?
I think that's a philosophical question, Mr. Osso. I think in terms of teaching the standards and what we do in schools, we are required to have certified personnel teach content. And so those certified personnel, they go to school, they get a bachelor's, they get a master's, they get trained to teach, and then they get hired because they have accrued the correct credentials to be certified to teach. So in our schools, by law, we are required to have certified teachers that are certified in comprehensive physical education and health. They're certified to teach science because they've done the coursework to be certified. So in our schools, that's what we do. If you're asking me, in terms of ideology and philosophy, that's a philosophical conversation.
Okay, because in the responsibility of the 3 R's, responsibility to society has the right to do this for our children, society as a whole. Right?
And
it says in the,
schools are part of society.
Correct, and so parents. Parents are part of society too.
You won't get an argument
right,
from there.
So my next question is, because I'm just asking straight questions.
I got it.
I'm with you.
I got it.
Did the Board of Education look into opt-in instead of opt-out?
Well, I think that's a question for the board. You said did the Board of Education look into it?
Did the Board of Education look into opt-in?
Not to date. I mean, all of, I think all of us are aware, but the statute provides for an opt-out, as you saw up the NJAC or whatever. And so so far, that's what our curriculum provides for and has historically.
Did the Board of Education ask the New Jersey Department of Education, just in case the Board of Education decided to postpone this sexual education program, what would be the penalty?
I actually emailed the county. I have yet to receive a response. They're looking into it.
Since May?
No, just really recently.
Why?
Well, because when this was actually going on, they actually said that this is a requirement. Districts are required to do this. They are not delaying the implementation of the standards. I'm sure you saw that in the headline that the governor tasked the Department of Education to do a review of the standards. We were waiting to see what was going to happen as a result of that review. Clearly, we haven't heard what's happening as a result of that review. The commissioner put out a statement, and so we knew that this was a requirement. And in order to give our teachers the best possible chance of developing a curriculum, we thought time was of the essence, and we got started. So that's why we were told by the county, and we're told, by the Department of Education, this is a requirement based on the broadcast that was put out to all of the school districts.
So knowing that this is a sensitive matter and quote you, controversial material, that said this, right? So the Board of Education said, we have this controversial material. Let's look to see what other options we have. Let's say, for example, let's get the parents involved, but it may take some extra time, right? So the New Jersey Department of Education says that, if anything, it's an internal matter with CUSAC, right? What would be the penalty on CUSAC? If we postponed this program, I'm saying postpone. I'm not saying, look, we're gonna be open-minded about this. But I really think when you have, and believe me when I tell you, I'm around people in this town all day. And there's a lot of people that don't wanna come out here because they're afraid, all right? But there are people that are very sensitive to this. My only question to you is, postpone it. Hold off. Get the parents involved. I think this is a happy meeting. Let's get some parents involved. They're not gonna put you in jail. They're not gonna take away any state aid. They're not allowed to. It's against the law. Because every state aid dollar is accounted for. Good luck, let them take away money from special needs. They're not going to do it. So I think being responsible as a Board of Education is to say, let's hold off, let's regroup, let's get some parents in each age group, okay? And really put this where parents can say, if it's comfortable for me, we're good to go. Because what we're seeing today is just an outline. Like we're talking about Jay-Z and Beyonce, whatever the case may be. Jay-Z cheated on Beyonce. So how good of a healthy relationship is that? Let's do it right. All right, I'm just giving you my opinion. I asked you questions, and the question I asked is that not one parent, we have the New Jersey Department of Education, the NJDA themselves, the New Jersey School Boards Association, all say and preach parents at the table. Not to write, but to be a part of the process. And I think that's respect enough for parents and taxpayers of this district. I just think it's a level playing field.
Well, at the end of the day, in order to postpone the implementation of the curriculum, that's up to the board and the board's rule.
Yeah, I get you, but I think, I'm talking as a community here. Put parents at the table, let them all figure it out. All right, look, we're talking about children. I mean, my son's in 7th grade. I get it. My daughter's in 5th. She plays with her doll. She's innocent in hell. And right now, my children are not enrolled yet because I'm kind of hesitant. But I do want them to come back for social purposes, all right? But you're putting me in a very difficult position because I look at my daughter more than my son, all right? And I see parents
second graders and first graders and third graders. This is not the place for it. So I just think we just gotta take a deep breath and just look it over. All right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mickey.
Hi, Stephanie, Fort Lee, New Jersey. Question. Who has the fundamental right to direct care, upbringing, and the education of a child?
That's a fundamental right.
Correct. Parents. The parents circumvent the state. The parents direct sexuality in a home. And why? Because most of sexuality falls under morality. I know the school doesn't want to hear about morality, but based on what your moral beliefs are, much of what you decide about your body is, and what you teach your children is based under not just your views, but let's say as a Christian, my body is my own, but my body also belongs to the idea of what God wants for my body. How my body is uniquely and wonderfully made. When you ask a mixed room of 7 to 8-year-olds to name private body parts, is that what you're saying? In mixed company of male and female 7 to 8-year-olds, they will have to speak out loud, vagina, vulva, testes, semen. This is what you're saying? Or you just chose one word, or you determined the word, or I'm trying to figure it out.
It's one word for each.
Did you pick the word?
We, the committee, picked the word.
What's the word?
We have penis.
Okay.
And you have vulva or vagina.
Vulva or vagina.
Correct.
Most women in a room wouldn't say they have a vulva, but that's okay.
I know, I understand it says medically accurate terms. So
yeah, I understand that. And this is in a mixed group of little boys with little girls.
And yes.
Okay, I just want to get this clear. And the teacher has been asked under a polygraph if they're attracted to children? Who teaches this specific curriculum?
No, polygraph.
No.
They go through background.
So as a 7 to 10-year-old girl who was sexually abused by my educated teacher, I read what you have in that curriculum, okay? I read what you have in the curriculum. First of all, the safest person for a child is their parent. You don't have that mentioned in the curriculum at all. Why is that? A safe adult? No. If you feel uncomfortable, go to a safe adult? No. Where is the parent in the curriculum?
Well, children are given the opportunity to name who that adult is.
So a child who's 7, you're gonna give the opportunity for a 7-year-old?
Stephanie, let her finish.
Okay,
No,
yeah.
go ahead, keep going.
No, I want to understand clearly because I'm the mother of 3 children. And at 7 years old, my kids didn't know how to wipe their butt properly. So if you talk about penis and vagina to a 7 to 8-year-old, what do you think is going to happen in a room, in a classroom setting?
I don't have a crystal ball. So it's going to be a group of students, the teacher's going to say it, the children aren't going to be asked to write it, they're not going to be asked to point, they're not going to be asked to do anything like that.
Really? Because that's not what was in the original curriculum.
I understand. The teachers are going to say the language. The standard says that students have to list the body parts. They're not going to necessarily be asked to write them. I hear what you're saying about parents, and sometimes, in certain instances, most children are lucky, their parent is their safest adult.
Excuse me, you just used the word most. Let's say 99.9% of the time. The word most is such BS, come on.
There might be children, and
1 or 2 potentially.
that might not have that. So that's why it's
So we're downgrading our children. We're assuming for the lowest
kid, right? The kid who's the abused kid gets to control all the other kids in the room. I'm trying to figure this
So
out.
Stephanie, do you have a question? that you'd
I've
like to
asked
answer?
many questions. Is this mixed company?
Direct your comments to the board, we're voting on the
Is this
curriculum
mixed
tonight,
company?
and if you
None
have
of
a
this should
question,
be, none of
Ms.
this
Baker
should
will
be a
answer.
mixed company of male and female before puberty. Not any of it. None of it. Number one, I have dealt for many years with girls who are abused and children that are abused, and work with the state and work with other people. Specifically girls who are in abuse, to speak about certain issues in front of males actually puts them in a position of having predators come at them. Speaking and encouraging sexual conversation with prepubescent children can only be seen as predatory. It can only be seen as grooming. It is grooming children with a language and words that they don't comprehend and they don't really know what to do with it. And when you have information that you don't know what to do with, like when I'll give an example to the board. When I was divorced and my son was 7 years old, my first son, he used to cry and cry and cry. And in that moment, as angry as I was, I could not give my child X, Y, Z information. I had to tell my son, always together in you, mommy and daddy are perfect, right? Together, we're perfectly made in you. So there was I could have given him all the information. I could have told him about the intercourse or the this or the that. No, that is not what a 7-year-old can comprehend or understand. I read the curriculum. You have list your likes, list your loves, but things, you're telling children to write things, not people, in a section of love. For most people, that's considered idolatry. For most people who are religious, to love things is considered idolatry. So I just think parents didn't really read through this curriculum. The word like and love, the word love, as in love is love. Well, what does that even mean? I saw that written there. Would you like to explain to us what love is love means?
I think that it was, part of the activity was to introduce students the difference between, because one of the standards is being able to differentiate.
Between what?
When you know, in terms of talking about sexual orientation, the difference between liking somebody and having love and romantic feelings for a person. So it was an
So is sex love? Is a romantic feeling love?
I think it depends on the situation.
Okay, so sex is considered under love. How is sexual orientation is considered love? That has nothing to do with love.
Because sometimes it involves romantic feelings. But again, I'm speaking to you I'm just telling you how the prerequisite for teaching children about the difference between gender identity and sexual orientation.
Okay, so let's clear one thing up. England just removed, right, the last clinic giving hormonal therapy. I'm not right. I want to know what they're teaching these kids about gender.
If you have
We're not
some
teaching
questions,
hormonal
Stephanie,
therapy.
if you have some questions on the curriculum that was presented and sent home, we're here to answer it, but.
Okay, so this is what I wrote down.
One
very
last
quick.
question.
No, this is very quick about our curriculum that I can say to parents. I think this curriculum should be opt-in, not opt-out, like Morris.
And Mickey made that point to us.
Okay, I'm seconding that. I think some other people might third it. Make sure you get written confirmation or a signature from the principals and teachers that they have been made aware of your opt-out directive. Make sure your opt-out form is a catch-all. Make sure it includes all medical advice, counseling, procedures, including medical or therapeutic referrals of any kind. Make sure it includes family life, social, emotional learning. Make sure the opt-out form is a one catch-all, that all sexual curriculums are listed, teaching, videos, lectures, all content pertaining to the topics.
I would suggest that I'm going to come up with my own form and I will pass it out at the schools. I'm going to have other mothers and people in our community get together and let parents know what is actually in there, because I don't think most parents have seen it and or read it, and the ones who have are very upset about it. Lastly, make sure you equip your children with the language to respond to these boundaries being violated. Make sure you role play with them so they can build confidence in responding to uncomfortable or inappropriate situations their teacher may likely be putting them in. And when they are faced with it, make sure they know that you, parent, are their lifeline. You will come get them out of this situation if needed. Build and protect your parent-child bond. And I'm urging the parents of Fort Lee to stand up. There is no one that has a right to steal the innocence of children. And this is a total theft of innocence.
All right, this is it.
Advocates for Youth. Is that a pro-choice advocacy group, Ms. Speaker?
I believe it is, yes.
Denise?
We don't have any references to a maze in our lessons.
You know Youth, Advocates for Youth partners with Amaze and Planned Parenthood.
And one of the things we did in all of our lessons is we removed every Amaze video, every reference to Amaze. So none of the Amaze videos are going to be used.
Are there any professional development companies or advocacy groups that are pro-life?
Any that are pro-life?
That practice safe sex and more of a...
You're just asking me that question off the top of my head. Professional development companies that are pro-life? I can't answer that question.
Did you even look for them?
Professional development companies that are, no, I haven't searched that.
They do exist, you know that.
I'm sure they do, I can't answer your question
Okay,
specifically.
so what you basically did was focused on the platform that we currently use in the district, Advocates for Youth. Because I got the curriculum late because I'm not part of the district, so I had to get it from somebody. And every reference on the slides were Advocates for Youth. I know you said you have the, whatever word you're looking for, that you try to adjust it and everything, but slides do say Advocates for Youth. And Advocates for Youth, we all have to agree, is a pro-choice advocacy. So if you want to do this fair and balanced, you can blend, because you have the ability to work your curriculum the way you want to. So we don't have to do basically off a pro-choice advocacy. There are other groups and other material out there that no one looked for, but they do exist, that you can gradually combine the two. No one ever thought about it, did they? Okay, thank you.
Okay, this is the last comment, and then, go ahead, name and address, sir.
Christos, Tom Hunter Road in Fort Lee.
Okay.
So I heard you guys say that, well, obviously I agree with everything.
No.
The state is not the parent. You guys know. There was a statement made that those that decided the curriculum are certified specialists. Right? That's exactly what you said. Quote unquote certified specialists. Who's the friend?
So a certified teacher is somebody that.
No, not a teacher. A certified specialist. It was your word. So the people that decided this curriculum
The
are
standards?
certified in making this curriculum.
Yes.
So what level of education do they have?
When you're talking about curriculum, I just want to make sure you understand, I understand. Are you talking about the standards, the people that create the
The quote unquote standards.
Yes. So based on what I know, 88% of them, 88% of the individuals that sat on the panel to make these recommendations for revisions have a master's degree.
Masters in what?
88% have a master's degree. I don't know the answer
So
to that
you don't know the
question.
answer to what, but you know it's 88%.
I know that it's 88% have a master's.
It's 88.2 or 88%, like you know it's
The
88%.
information that I have access to from the Department of Education says 88% have a master's degree.
And the rest?
I would assume they either have higher or they don't have a master's degree, they might have a bachelor's.
Okay, so in the master's degree is just education. not as a certified specialist in sex, or whatever you call this type of education.
Well, what the information states is that the individuals that served on the panel, a certain portion of them are experts in the field. So you had docs, you had physicians, I know that the Academy for Pediatrics was another organization that they worked
So
with.
physicians, the Academy of Pediatrics, and some other.
I don't
80%.
have the entire list of the individuals that sat on the panel. This is based on a PowerPoint, on a presentation, on information that was disseminated from the State Department of Education when they reported on the advisory panel that created these recommendations. So I don't have all of the
So that
specifics.
trickled down, got to the point where they decided vulva and penis are the two words that are gonna be interjected, or the two words that have to be defined.
Well, the standard says list the female and male genitals, so, I mean, yes, so that's it.
So how, you said it's one word, how does that get exposed to the students?
So the teacher is going to essentially, and again, this is me, I'm not in the classroom.
Yeah, but I'm not, but you guys, these are certified
I got it.
experts, these are experts.
I can't speak for the experts, so you just asked me a question.
But wait,
about
but
the
you're
classroom.
here telling us what the experts did.
Yes,
Okay.
and they made these recommendations.
These are recommendations.
Right, so our teachers are pretty much going to say, this is one body part for the female, this is one body part for the male.
Okay, so
And they're
the
going
teacher,
to say that, and they're gonna say, these are private parts, they're covered by,
So-
I'm sorry, covered by a bathing suit. So that's one way, one example.
So they're gonna walk in the room, turn the lights on, and say, female body part is a vulva. It's covered by a bathing suit.
They're gonna
What's the
talk,
context?
they're gonna talk about body parts, they're gonna talk about things that we have in common, everybody, eyes, nose, ears.
Eyes, ears, nose.
I'm just giving you
vulva.
examples, and then they're going to say, you also have, parts that sometimes are called your private parts, and this is what they're called.
And the importance of that is what?
So the explanation that the Department of Education is giving is that normally, statistically, I should use that word, statistically, when children are able to identify the appropriate body parts, they are better able to identify when somebody touches them inappropriately. And so they're gonna be, I'm just telling you, that is what they are saying, don't kill the messenger.
So essentially, you guys are good soldiers following orders.
They're not
Is what you're-
therapists, they're not doctors.
No, hold on, that's what I'm trying to understand. You're good soldiers.
That is what we're required to do.
So you do what you're required to do.
Okay, sir, she's here to answer questions
I'm
on
asking
specific curriculum, that was her role. It's the board that votes on what she has drafted with her colleagues.
So at the board, are there certified specialists?
No, the board is made up of 8 right now, but 9 of your neighbors who actually do this for free.
So
And
the
they're not
curriculum,
certified child therapists or doctors.
so hold on, the board,
We just bring our like real life experiences
so who
to this.
decides the curriculum?
Tonight, I'm gonna say it again. Item 3C, on our agenda, includes this curriculum. There will be a vote tonight to see whether it's implemented.
So tonight is the vote.
Tonight,
So-
if when you finish, we're moving on to our business,
So
and you can find out.
this was voted on in other years as well.
Every year, the board votes on curriculum and textbooks and things of that sort.
And the board voted that a excellent example of a married couple is Beyonce and Jay-Z.
Not yet.
No.
Not tonight.
Oh, that's tonight?
That's tonight.
Wow, so that's, hold on,
minutes
so-
from now, sir.
So then that is, will follow up for my last question. The certified specialists came up with Beyonce and Jay-Z, is that what you're telling me?
And that's something I would say, it's not necessarily listed in the standards, we can change that, we can remove it, but there are certain concepts that we can't remove at this time. So that's how I will answer that question, the board will vote on it.
So if no parent showed up tonight, Beyonce and Jay-Z would be in there. They came up.
I think that that's something that we would go back to and we would talk about, it's just was something that was in a lesson. They felt that kids would respond to it because it's a little bit more contemporary, to answer your question. But that is something that we could easily, that's something that we could change.
Okay, so is that the end of your superintendent's report, or do you have more?
That's the end of our superintendent's report.
Okay.
Just one question. What are the repercussions if we don't go through with this curriculum for the town?
So, as I said, I reached out to the county. I asked the county educational specialist that she was gonna reach out to the executive superintendent, the executive county superintendent in Delicio, to figure out what can be, and I'm waiting to hear the response.
Should we wait to vote until you have that answer?
Exactly.
That's up to the board.
Yeah, well,
So Stephanie, we are done with.
No, I'm asking all members of the board to hold their vote. I'm asking every member of this board to hold their vote. To hold their vote, because this is predatory against children. And you're not a good soldier, Paula. And if you vote yes on this curriculum, we will work to take every one of you off the board since you think you're here as a favor to us. Hey, it's not okay to come after 7-year-old children, and it won't happen on my watch.
Do we have any committee reports?
Paula, there's people waiting online to speak about the curriculum. There's people with their hands raised that you need to acknowledge.
Okay, I wasn't told that we had raised hands.
Okay, so typically our raised hands are for public comment, so that's why I didn't know, but no problem. Irina, I am promoting.
Are the raised hands, we don't know.
Correct. Irina, I'm promoting you to panelist. Please feel free to share your video and your comment. Please state your name.
If you have a raised hand, you're only gonna be afforded an opportunity to speak once because we dismiss you after you have your raised hand. So if you want to speak on this subject only, then keep your hand up.
Irina, you've been promoted to panelist. Please feel free to share your video and your comments, state your name and address for the record.
Hi, Irina Karash, 230 Tremont Avenue. I have like 2 or 3 questions. My first question is, since I know everybody's kind of getting on you guys, but this is really voted into law and we should vote with in November, you know, you get the results you vote for. So who from the Bergen County who's gonna, you know, Congress actually supported this so that we know when we go in November who we're voting for and what they stand for? If anybody knows who actually supported this from our Congress. The other question is, so you said there'll be an alternative curriculum if we opt out. I'm clearly gonna opt out. I have a 7-year-old son. He's only interested in soccer balls. I think this will, he's either gonna make a very inappropriate comment during one of these classrooms or do something very inappropriate because he's a 7-year-old boy and that's just what's to expect of them. And in general, I just don't think he should learn any of this until he fully understands, and I think it should be introduced to them in biology class, not in gender class. They don't know anything about biology. They haven't been taught, you know, anything about anatomy. They don't know what a fever is, but they know what, I mean, it's just crazy that, you know, before they can take what, but that's been beaten a bit. But the other thing you said is if my child gets pulled out and goes into, they'll be given alternative project or some kind of lesson. Is that half the class goes in, gets an alternative project, the other half of the class doesn't get any project. They meet in an hour together and say, hey, I have all this homework, and the other side of the class says, actually, I don't have any. And then my kid comes home and yells at me that I've pulled them out of something, and now they have double the homework of someone else.
So I will say it's not going to be assigned as homework. It's just activities that are going to be assigned to complete during the period. particularly in elementary schools. So it's not additional work that has to be done outside of school.
Oh, because you said it will be like independent study or something. It sounded like it will be something that they will be taking home with them, and it'll be like a project for them to do, while the others are just going to get instruction in class, and then afterwards they're going to meet together, and children only understanding the amount of work they get, right?
Yeah, I just wanted to read the law to you, but what an independent study can look like can be very different. So there are going to be assignments and activities that are done during the day.
And then my other question is, depending on the numbers they get, parents choose to exempt and the others that don't, how are you guys going to mediate the repercussions, or some kind of other kids making fun of the other kids that, like, your parents pulled you out, or all of this stuff?
So the only way other kids are going to know is if they say it. The teachers aren't going to reveal that, and quite honestly, we do have students that get pulled out of classes for other resources, such as English as a second language, intervention programs, GNT. So, being pulled, there are students that get pulled from class for a variety of reasons, not just for this one. That's what I would say. It happens during the school day. Kids get pulled out for band lessons, kids get pulled out for a variety of reasons.
Okay, I just don't want it, to come back and, some kind of, I don't want to say the word bullying because that's too charged, but some kind of like, oh, hey, you didn't come, or what, something like that, and then someone get upset over it.
I understand. Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
Jean Sunick, I'm promoting you to panelist. Please feel free to share your video and your comment. Please state your name and address for the record. Jean?
Hello? Can you hear me?
We can hear you. You're sideways, but we can hear you.
Okay. Hi, Gene Sunick, 1094 Buckingham Road. I'd like to say that, just comments here. Everything that was said, there's nothing more I can add. I think the community, the voters of Fort Lee have spoken, and they've put their position forward on their feelings towards this curriculum. With that said, my request is to the board directly to strike this down, because this is what your community wants. This is what your voters want. That's all.
Thank you, Jean.
Thank you.
996993. I'm promoting you to panelist. Please feel free to share your video and your comment. Please state your name and address for the record.
Esther will be the microphone's not on.
You're muted.
Ma'am, you're muted. You're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jeanette Wiener, and I'm on Palisade Avenue in Fort Lee. Hello to everyone. I've heard everything that everyone has said tonight, and I'm going to have to stand with the parents that are voicing their opinions. I share the same views in opinions and desires as each and every one of them. And I would like to ask the board to strike it down. I am not in favor of this. Childhood is a very special time. We've all been through a lot in the last few years. I think, the word unprecedented came up 1,000 times. And I think that we need to practice a lot of understanding and compassion with one another. Our property taxes fund the school system. We just got a bill, raising taxes. We need to be heard. You need to respect our decisions. This is very sacred to parents. I've spoken to other parents who are probably not here tonight, but are also very concerned and very worried. And I'm just going to ask you to strike it down. It's no one wants it. From what a lot of people don't want it. There might be 1% that does. The majority have a problem with it. And I think you should listen to the parents. Thank you.
Esther will be the last speaker on this so that we can move ahead.
Mahale, I'm promoting you to panelists. Please feel free to share your video and your comment. Please state your name and address.
For the remainder of the speakers, though, please try not to repeat the points that have already been made. We've been listening closely.
Hi, can everyone hear me? Okay, I'm Michal Komanescu, 254 Tom Hunter Road, Fort Lee, New Jersey. I'd like to thank the board for taking care of some of the aspects that were presented in the original 3RS curriculum, and like not mentioning puberty blockers and some of the other mess that's in there. But I still have issues with the current curriculum. So first of all, in regards to love versus like, it seems that in the presented class, you love family, you like acquaintances, and there's a big question mark what you do in between with friends. In my opinion, it completely erases the concept of a close friendship and completely replaces it with something else. And as you pointed out, I think it's related to the gender identity. And I think it's problematic because most kids don't think to bang their friends or close friends. They just have friends, period, that they grow up with. The other aspects that I don't like about the curriculum is about the way in which it aborts the sexual education part. So for example, it talks about sex in 2nd grade. It only talks about condoms, I believe in 7th grade, or STDs. And it doesn't touch upon the consequences of having sex. Like for example, if you leave somebody pregnant, what are you gonna do next? Are you gonna keep the kid? 3RS suggests to have an abortion, which I'm against, but I believe you get the point, right? And then lastly, in regards to, kind of follows up in the same thing. So for example, with sexting, the example that it gives, for example, it's, how should I say this? It only touches upon the relationship. It doesn't touch about the consequences at all. So for example, what if you send a dick pic over the internet? No one talks about that in the proposed curriculum and why it's such a bad idea. And you could pretty much make a lesson about, everything being bad because it stays there forever and it might affect you. And you can also bring up child pornography and the laws around it, and, kind of wrap it up why it's such a bad idea to actually send nudes and everything touching that. So overall, I think I understand why the board proposes the curriculum and why we kind of need to have it, but I'm kind of against it as well. But, I appreciate the effort and thank you for not putting what was suggested initially in 3RS. That was like a big mess.
Okay, thank you.
Bob, I'm promoting you to panelists. Please feel free to share your video and your comment. Please state your name and address for the record. Bob? You're muted.
Bob, you're muted.
You're muted and you're sideways.
I look better sideways anyway, I think.
Hello,
You don't know
Bob.
me. I've spoken to you several times before, and I do appreciate the time y'all are all putting into this. I know y'all are pulling OT right now, and I know it's an extremely necessary meeting. Most of y'all, I think, kind of agree with the parents at this point, I would imagine, and I can understand the frustration of the parents too. I mean, we see what's going on across this country, right? And where it's directed. We've seen teachers in the news showing kids pornography, whether it's sexualized cartoons or this, that, and your teacher sleeping with kids, and older adults who have perversion problems were introduced with sex at such an early age. That I think that's something that we should consider as well. The thing is, I think we're hyper-sexualizing our children at this age. At 5th grade. Oh, let me start off by this. The Advocates for Youth, what are they teaching? Are they teaching the alternative, or are they teaching the new curriculum? Are they partnered with the new curriculum?
I don't understand the question.
I got that.
Yeah. What part do they play again? Are they doing the alternative curriculum, the who opt out?
No. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, now I get it. No, we won't be using that resource because that is a sexual education curriculum. So if you are essentially requesting that your child be excused from that portion of the health curriculum, we're not going to be using those resources because we have to provide alternative programs in other areas, in other concepts of health. So the answer to that question is no.
Okay, but are they have any part of the regular curriculum?
In our regular prescribed curriculum?
Yeah.
Yes, we're using their lessons, but we adapted many of the lessons.
Okay, so here's from their front page, Advocates for Youth. Young people understand that reproductive and sexual health and rights are inextricably tied to social justice and the fight for liberation. Join thousands of youth activists and adult allies. We build a better and more equitable future. These are people trying to activate or be activists with our children. I looked up some of their other stuff as well. This is clearly, I mean, if that doesn't speak ideology, excuse me, I'm a little mad right now. I'm fumbling over my words. I'm trying to keep calm. But this is, do we really want that part of our school curriculum, a partner with Advocates for Youth? And can we go back to the state, say, hey, what can we do to take this partnership off the table?
Well, the state doesn't assign us the resources that we use. The district selects the resources, but we have to cover the standards. And so the lessons actually assist with covering some of the new standards that we have to cover. So that's our resource. Their lessons are one of the resources that we are including in our new curriculum that's up for board approval tonight.
Okay, well, I mean, if there's any way we can not partner with these people, because it's clearly they have an agenda, and for all this new curriculum that we're putting into our kids, to have somebody with this type of mentality driving the sexualization of our youth, I think that's something we should take off the table. I mean, even if y'all go forward with it, y'all should partner with somebody else than Advocates for Youth trying to bring this nonsense to our kids, because they clearly are after something here, right? And all right, so I'll move to the second question. And I think we all need to be strong adults, and choose this curriculum as the alternative, as the elective. I know other people mentioned it, but I hope y'all can do that. I think another county did it. Hopefully y'all can do it too, because I guarantee you, if parents really knew what's going on and are paying attention, 99% of these people would opt out. And then what are you going to have 99% of kids going to alternative classes? That it seems a little ridiculous to me. And I did go online and I went to check out the curriculum, but it's all bullet points. Are we going to be able to, or the people who actually do this, who don't opt out, are they going to be able to see the content, see the actual lessons, the papers, the books, everything that's going into it? Are they going to be able to put that through their own filter before they lay it in front of their kids?
Well, that's actually what's online.
Well, I went to where you said, but it's all generic boilerplate language. I can't click a button to see some worksheets that you're working on, how to masturbate or whatever they're going to teach, right? So I think clarity like that. I mean, you can't just say, oh, we're going to talk about masturbation. What about masturbation? You're going to teach them how to masturbate? Because that's not good.
Bob, she said that was not part of the curriculum at all.
Okay, I'd have missed that part. All right, good. And this stuff about gender as well. I want to touch on, this will be my last thing. Will kids be getting in trouble for misgendering people?
No.
No, not at all, right? Okay.
Okay, thank you, Bob. I think Victoria Kim was next, and then Esther.
Ms. Hahn, I'm promoting you.
Esther is the last one on this.
Yeah, there's somebody before her.
Hi, my name is Ji Suhan. I live in Victoria Place in Fort Lee. So this is my first time joining, and my son is a new enrollee. So I have a couple of comments. Number one is I think it was touched upon by Daniel, who is another visible minority who joined and spoke in person today. But this parent meeting so far, obviously I'm not physically there, so I don't know who else is sitting in the chairs, is not visibly representative of all the parents and the minorities that are very obviously seen in Fort Lee, especially in the schools. So we're obviously new here, and my son will start soon, but even as somebody who moved recently, I can visibly see that in the difference between the crowd here today. And something such as important as and fired up as sexual education, I would think that other parents of maybe other minorities or other, maybe different language preferences would also have a view. And I was wondering if there are any initiatives. I know English is the main language, but given that there are high percentages, it's not like 95% and everybody else is a very small minority. There are large minority groups in Fort Lee, whether this type of information and panel and type of comments is something that you consider from a more wide, and how to make that more accessible to minority groups. So that's one of the comments that I had. Number two is such as food for thought. And number two is, so I'm looking at my son, it will be entering fourth grade. And to be honest, I'm a little bit like, yeah, I guess I'm happy that he's not in second or in fifth, although fifth is coming next year. But I'm looking at the second grade, how there were those Google Drive slides and files. And I'm looking at the second grade NJ 2020 performance expectations. I'm guessing that's what's headed down from the state. And it says 2.1.2 PGD 0.5. It says list medically accurate names for body parts, including the genitals. So I feel like all of this, like in this page, understanding our bodies, is so focused on including the genitals. But the point that this education standard is asking the board or the Fort Lee district to, ultimately teachers to teach is list medically accurate names for body parts. That's the main point. And genitals just needs to be one portion. So, but the whole PowerPoint, 5 or 6 slides that the teacher is teaching from is all about genitals. All of this whole, like the 3 or so pages is only about genitals. Like, are there, within this understanding our bodies, it only covers, such a small portion of medically accurate names. And I'm wondering if there's more to the lesson that we're not seeing in these folders.
So there is a PowerPoint that's included where teachers first start to talk about body parts and how they work together. And so other body parts are discussed. It's just that I included the lessons that relate to the content that is most sensitive, so parents can see the language. So yes.
Right. So is there also a breakdown like, hey, you should spend within 10 minutes of your lesson, you should spend like 8 minutes talking about all the other body parts and then like 2 minutes on the genitals? Because it seems obviously like from the presentation that there's no guidance on the amount of time it should be, allocated.
Right, I understand that, and it's not necessarily a long period of time, it's a short period of time. There, as I said, there's a PowerPoint where there's one slide that talks about, let's talk about similar body parts that we all share, that all human beings have and why we have them. So eyes, what do we use?
Right.
Our nose, what do we use our nose for? We didn't list those specifically because that was a judgment call on my part. I will say that I thought that there would be, parents would want to know more about exactly what we're going to say regarding the general part.
Right. I understand that, but if this is what's given to teachers, it doesn't really like give them that type of breakdown in terms of it. It seems like everything is going towards genitals, and obviously that's not the point of this lesson or this education standard.
Right, but they are going to start the lesson by talking about other body parts. To answer your question, yes.
Okay. So I guess my comment is like if there could be further guidance on how to distribute the time and to accurately like allocate that. That was one. Yeah. And then if you go on to the next one on that same page, 2.1.2 PGD 0.4, use correct terminology to identify body parts, explain how body parts work together to support wellness. And it does say that that's in the asterisk next to it that the lesson partially aligns and that teachers may choose to supplement. So the body and how the body parts work together to support wellness like that. Most of wellness comes, obviously you have to take care of your genitals, but most of your wellness comes from extragenital organs, the rest of your body. And I didn't see how that standard was addressed in the lesson plan that was outlined.
So that's something that teachers will cover when they present the lesson. That's something that actually they've covered in the past in physical education. So that wasn't necessarily new content to them, but I understand your comment and your feedback. And so what we do and typically do throughout the school year when any curriculum is new, I even remember doing this as a social studies and language arts supervisor, is that we would sit down with the teachers and we would talk about the unit again in detail and go over the lessons again and what they could potentially look like. So I want to tell you, just because you don't necessarily see it there doesn't mean it's not going to happen. That would be the next step in the implementation process, to meet along the way with the staff, the teachers, to talk about, okay, let's take a look at this lesson. The unit is coming up. Let's plan in a more detailed way.
Okay, thank you.
Right. I just want to emphasize that we want to give equal time to other bodies as well, other body parts as well.
Noted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello?
Hello. Hello, everyone. This is Victoria Kim. I live at 2190 McKay Avenue. There are a couple of things that I would like to mention tonight. On the agenda 5 curriculum, I noticed that we are approving a budget for Love for Literacy, who was contributing around inclusive curriculum and his work to develop NJ's first LGBTQ inclusive set of curriculum resources of ELA. And on the invoice or the proposal, it doesn't say anything, what they're going to cover. The topic is TBD, and I'm not fully comfortable with including LGBTQ in the part of the curriculum as a Christian. I mean, I do respect the people's choice, but I'm not fully ready to see my child receiving information from school that it is okay to choose your gender, or because we haven't approved the curriculum yet. So I'm not very comfortable with approving this budget when we don't know what to actually receive the service from this company. That's one thing. And the second one is the curriculum has a second grade, 5th grade, 6th, skipping 3rd and 4th. So are you planning to teach the 2nd grade material to the 3rd and 4th grader and 5th? Because I mean, my daughter is going into 3rd. So is my daughter skipping this sexual curriculum for the 3rd year? Yeah, in the 3rd grade.
Yes, there's no designated health curriculum in the 3rd grade.
So basically you're starting this year. So my daughter will not have this curriculum in place because she's in 3rd.
For 22-23, yes.
Yes, okay.
And also to answer your question regarding the professional development that's on the agenda, that's actually a speaker that's going to work with the 7th through 12th grade English Language Arts and Social Studies department to provide them with guidance on how to tackle tough topics in class. So whether it's about race, whether any kind of controversial topics that come up in class, social justice, anything, it's really to provide educators with support on how to address those topics in middle and high school.
Okay. I mean, it doesn't say anything, so I wasn't sure.
I understand, but that's just to answer your question. It's not necessarily
okay.
It's a gender identity.
Thank you. And third, as a parent, I read through, not fully, but I reviewed the curriculum, and I understand that there is a need for this curriculum to prevent sex abuse at home and bullying on gender identity and etc. But is, for the second grader, is it knowing the genitals really crucial to prevent sex abuse at home? Like, I'm not totally against it, but I would like to see more, full live lessons and check what terms you're going to use, what languages you're going to use, what examples you're going to use before we approve all this. So, just with this, I don't think we should approve it. And so I third it, we need to postpone this to make sure every parent in district has reviewed this curriculum fully and review from various aspects and approve it after all, not right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Victoria.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. So first, I just props to Ms. Baker for tonight. But I think she did, she gave a really good explanation, breakdown in terms of the standards and how that correlates to the actual curriculum. And I think everyone should really take a look, excuse me, because I think the district is trying to be very transparent with everything that's going on. And, it's obviously took in a lot of the parent feedback that has been coming in recently. So I think parent feedback has been incorporated as they crafted the curriculum. I just, one of the reasons I kind of joined was to say that, you can't make assumptions on how all the parents in the district feel based on whoever's the loudest. As we've learned over the last 2 years, sometimes, the loudest don't necessarily always represent the majority. All right. So I would just say that because, someone made a comment like, oh, hey, based on the parents that are here, I don't think you can make that assumption. We've learned that before. So that was my one word of caution. I mean, there is an opt-out for the parents who don't agree with this. And you know what? I respect your right to disagree with it. I'm not going to debate that. Opt out of it. But I don't think it's fair to say the board should just vote it down entirely and just leave it completely out of the curriculum just because there is a group of people who disagree with it. It's not fair to kind of try to sway parents by making false and inflammatory comments like, they're going to show pornography, they're going to teach them how to masturbate. All right. The last thing, I don't think it's necessarily fair to say that anyone who's made a comment on Zoom can't make a comment later during public comment, because I think after the presentation was done, it was specifically the parents were asked if anyone had comments about the presentation itself. So to limit the Zoom people who are commenting about the presentation and saying, oh, they can't comment later on if they had questions or comments about the agenda or something else during public comment isn't necessarily fair, unless you're saying all the people who are in the audience are cut off as well. So not that I am planning to, but I didn't think that was fair. So good luck.
Esther, we'll let you dial back in and have 3 minutes.
Thanks.
There are 2 more raised hands, Kyle Sanford and Jean Sunic.
Well, Jean already spoke, so he will have to wait until the regular public session.
Would you like me to acknowledge Kyle?
Yes, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Kyle.
Hi, how are you? How's everybody?
Good. We can't see
Thank
you.
you. Thank you for everything you guys are doing. I appreciate it. I just got one thing to say. This goes to Bob, who talked before. Bob, just so you know, under parent responsibility, you have the right to request a copy of your child's school curriculum from your school board of education, but you also may have to pay for the copy of the curriculum. Your school might also host a workshop for you to review curriculum. In addition, local school boards often form curriculum review committees that allow parents to serve, giving you a definite voice in choosing your school district's curriculum. I feel that, you know, I agree with you guys, you know, some of the curriculum should stay, but the controversial stuff, I think we should hold back to the end. You know, you guys, till the parents can weigh in, and maybe you can make a review board, or you can, you know, kind of get a happy medium here between the parents and the Board of Education. You know, I think this has been, you guys have been pushing this through a little fast here. You know, I know you guys have a timeline here and want to get it done, but I think that you should take into consideration some of the other parents' views. So I do side with the parents on some occasions, but not with all. The stuff that's been in there since, you know, I've been to school and it's fine, you know, and that's my opinion anyway. So I just wanted to let you guys know that before you guys vote. All right. Thank you.
Do we have any other raised hands for the health curriculum? Seeing none. Jean? Okay. Okay, do we have any committee reports?
I do.
Go ahead.
Good evening, everybody. I'm sorry I can't be there this evening. The curriculum committee met and we discussed how we would introduce this new curriculum to the public. There was a lot of back and forth, and finally it was said that we would have a question and answer during tonight's Board of Ed meeting. All of the information was also sent out to the public prior to tonight's meeting. The public also had the chance to call the super or assistant super if there were any questions. That was basically the gist of our committee report. Thank you.
Any other committee reports?
Security Committee, pleased to announce that our Leo, our police officer, will be coming back this September. We had someone in the pipeline have a second, bowed out. He received another position at another district, but according to the chief, he's going to announce he's going to go back out, and hopefully maybe announce a second by, probably not by the beginning of the year, but maybe some point in September. But yeah, like I said, I'm pleased that our first class 3 is coming back for September. That's all.
Anyone else?
Well, actually, can I just ask, and I don't mean to beat a dead horse or something like that, but this is the first time that we're all discussing the curriculum as a board, since we all received it at the same time as the public. So I guess just as a Q&A.
We're coming right up to do board members have any questions or comments. Okay. Any other committee reports? Okay, do board members have questions or comments on tonight's agenda or any other topic?
I do. Who's going first? Elisa, you can go first.
Elisa, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'll bring up.
You want me to go ahead? Okay. Hi again. So I don't think it's any secret that I'm not for this. I want to speak on behalf of Diane Baker and the curriculum team, who I think did a brilliant job with what they were given. I think that in lieu of the fact that the timing was off and there hasn't been enough time to really examine more closely things like questions from students to teachers, it leaves teachers and students vulnerable. The kids are at a very impressionable time right now, and I don't think it's appropriate. In fact, I just wanted to say that I'm not for this at all. And my vote will be a no, but not based on the hard work of Diane and the curriculum team. Listen, I have a master's of science and I could not teach this. So I think we need to dig a little deeper. And I urge all board members to really think about having younger children. And, you know, a lot of us don't. And while I do think it's appropriate for older kids to learn about sex and safe sex and abstinence, I don't believe that a second grader should learn these things, because it leaves us open to a lot. I also want to add that I do agree that parents should be on the committee. I'm on the curriculum committee. I asked too late in Diane Baker's defense, but I believe there should be a panel. I mean, this is our children. This is their future. We don't know what's going on with kids, and I'm speaking as a parent right now. We don't walk in other families' shoes, and we cannot go in there and teach things that could be inappropriate, offensive, and very, very hurtful to little children and their parents who have other beliefs. And I ran for this Board of Education to be an advocate, not just for my children, but to every child in this district, every parent and every teacher. And I don't believe this is the right time to roll this out. We need to go back, revisit it, reinvest in it, and figure out all together as a community how this can play a better role in our community. Thank you.
So I guess the question is, apart from what the board decides, obviously the state legislation and what they ruled, it's not something that we can, it's not something that we can overturn here, right? So a question was asked, you know, what will happen if we don't abide? I don't know, what would happen?
Well, Diane has asked the question of the executive county superintendent, and maybe Lester can comment on this. I'm putting you on the spot a little bit, but there was a letter that came from the commissioner, and what I took away from the letter was we might lose a few QSAC points. But that's all I've heard.
Yeah, I'll reserve comment as it would fall under our state and state litigation, but statutorily, pursuant to New Jersey Department of Education regulations, and Title 18A, a local school district has an obligation on an annual basis to adopt a curriculum. If you do not adopt the curriculum, there are issues that will be taken up with the ECS, Executive County Superintendent, and with the Commissioner of Education. What the penalties may be, will be speculative at best at this point, so I recognize that.
So by adopting the curriculum though, I mean, I don't think we really picked apart any other curriculum and any other content as much as we are this, obviously, for obvious reasons. It's something that's very dear to a lot of people's hearts and minds. So that being said, I know Family Life though that I've had to learn it myself as a student, you know, in New Jersey. But how many kids have opted out? Do you know in the past? How many have opted out from that?
I don't know the specific number. In my conversations with building administration and the PE health teachers, they just have said they've had a few, they've handled this before, this is how they've handled it. And so, but I don't have a specific number.
And then in terms of separating like the girls and boys, that's a possibility logistically to do, or is that not possible to do that?
I would have to go back to the building administration. We'd have to have a more in-depth conversation. I really don't want to speak for them tonight.
I feel like when my daughter was in 5th grade, I think there was an opt-out portion of what I do.
Yes.
They did separate in 5th grade. I don't know if it was just a percent.
Now we don't.
Oh.
We don't separate it's one of those things where you might have, a child depending on how they identify. But that's a whole other topic. We already covered that. So again, I can't answer that question here tonight. It would be something that we have to talk about with our administration.
And then if we did do an opt-in instead, is that against what we're supposed to be doing? If we did that, instead of doing an opt-out, like Karen was saying, like if it is an opt-in instead, is that?
So I don't know if that's clearly established in the law. I know I've had articles that there are certain school districts across the state that have opted to curriculum in that fashion, but there's nothing in the statute that says it can't be done that way. It just references that it can be done the way that the district administration is proposing this evening, i.e. opt-out.
And I would defer to Mr. Taylor on that. I mean, he can interpret the law, so.
I want to thank you, Diane, because I know we didn't know what to expect tonight with the just totally open-ended question and answers, and you did a phenomenal job with the presentation and all the work that went into it. I know you've worked hard and spoken with a lot of your colleagues in Bergen County and outside, and consulted with a lot of different individuals on this. And so I really want to thank you for the hard work. That said, I do think that comments were made with some areas that we might want to look at, and certainly if an opt-in is a viable under the statute, I mean, I certainly think that that allays a lot of concerns because it requires parents to actually look at the curriculum to decide that they want their student to learn it. And then, you know, there were a number of other comments. So I think at this point, given the short time, and I know that you worked really hard on it, but we did only get it this week, I have reservations about it and would like to just revisit it and see whether it can be fine-tuned to take into account some of the comments from the public. So, I mean, I'm not going to be supporting it tonight, but not because of any of your work at all, but that I think that there's more that can be done to bring it in line with our community.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it, Paul.
Any other comments from any board members on tonight's agenda or any other topic? Excuse me, sir, it's not the time, you'll have an opportunity. Excuse me, sir, it's not the time for you to make comments.
I'm not comment, it's not a comment, it's a question.
May I have a motion to open the floor to the public?
Motion Ramba. Second.
Motion Ramba, second Richter, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, we'll hear first from any members of the public that are physically located here in the cafeteria. Then we'll take questions and comments from those participating remotely, and if you made comments on the sex education, you can dial in and have your 3 minutes on the agenda. For remote public participants, please select the raised hand feature in the upper left corner. Our board secretary, Hakeisha Taylor, will recognize each community member in the order of the raised hands by lowering the hand and unmuting the microphone if muted. Please then state your name and home address for the record and begin your comments. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. During this comment period, we will be following our 3-minute rule and we'll be setting the timer. Do we have any members of the public? I see Mickey's up at the podium. If you would like to make a public comment, if so, please approach the podium and then we'll go to our Zoom participants.
Mike Gosser, 230 Warren Avenue. Just want to give you kudos on a bunch of things. Sometimes I'm rough, but I want to give you kudos on one date. Congratulations, Ms. Taylor. 3P, I think you guys did a great job on the new appointments. And Mr. Rubino, just keep working on our safety. It's paramount. You know where I'm with you on that all the time. The one thing I think I'm going to disagree with Esther is that, you know, we're speaking loud. But understand something in the same breath, there is not one person in this room or on the Zoom that came on for it. Not one person. It's not high on your kitchen table. And I'm not condoning Ms. Baker. You're doing a hell of a job, but you're handcuffed. And you got not enough time to do this and do it right. And I'm not saying no to this. I'm just saying let's do it right. Right? There's a lot of resources that we can do, and we give all the resources. I'm a process guy. You give all the resources. Ms. Baker and her team, get some parents involved at the table and put this thing together as a community. You'll be fine. Okay? People will have peace and understand. And if it takes a little bit, we're not saying no to this. I want to say, let's delay. It's a delay. If it's a year, so what? We're not saying no. We're just saying we're going back to the table and do it the right way. That's all. That's all I care about. For the sake of every last child in this country, we have to do it right. We can't rush it. We can't look at ideology. We can't look at anything else. So much professional development from all different areas. We can get this right. As Paula always says, I don't want to be like Tenafly. I don't want to be like one. Let's be forward. Let's do it right. Okay?
Well, my expectation is not to take a year on this. Maybe,
Listen,
you know, we've
listen,
got to do
listen,
something and
listen,
we have to
listen,
move
listen.
ahead.
It's a couple of Cusack points. That's all it is. We're high performing to begin with. What are you gonna do, slap you on the wrist? Let me tell you something, if they came after you politically, Paula, you will have 2,000 parents backing you. It would be political suicide for any one of them. Mark my words, you know me, I'll be on that live cast, fighting for you all, okay? Because I will shame any politician or any New Jersey Department of Education that comes after this board, because that's what community is about. You do the right thing, we'll back you. All right? And let them try. Let them try, because you're gonna need 10 cop cars out there. Peace out, love you. Mr. Baker, you need more time.
Do we have any raised hands?
I have one audience member that was brought up. The gentleman, hi, Stephanie,
For the love of literacy, the LLC proposal, why was this group chosen? Because I realized that I realized what was being said before I looked up Dr. Kenneth Kunz, who has a literacy program for immigrant students and families, but mainly for his work now to develop New Jersey's first LGBTQI inclusive set of curriculum resources for the ELA. So that's a big problem. I don't see that we should give this guy $4,800 of our money for the love of literacy, when what is he doing now? He's being given money from the state of New Jersey to develop a whole bunch of writing for literacy, when his whole division focuses on K-3 literacy, but his main subject that he's writing about is LGBTQI. And this is my point. When you give an inch, it's a mile. There's no going backwards. There's no going backwards. It's a clear agenda. It's UN, written out agenda, UN 2030. It's in the United Nations, what they plan on bringing to the schools of the United States and across the world, and they tried to get UNESCO treaty involved with it, and it's enough. We all know that boys don't have babies and girls can, when their organs work properly. We don't need to do this to our children. Right now, I'm working with two people of which had surgeries who are questioning the removal of their organs that they never knew even existed the possibility until public education. So that's a big problem. If a child comes into school and says, hey, I feel disassociated from my arm, are you gonna send them to a doctor to chop their arm off? I feel dysmorphic with my foot. It doesn't feel like it's part of me. I don't think this guy should get a dime of our money until we know that he's not writing a curriculum for K-3 that's about LGBTQI subjects. I'm sorry.
Hi, I'm Tanya Byers-Payne from 275 Chalmers Road. I'm gonna totally get away from all of this for a second, and I'm gonna say something else. Our amazing band left on Sunday, or was yesterday, wow, to go to a week sleepaway militarized band camp. But what I wanna say that's amazing is that our superintendent showed up unannounced on Sunday morning to say hello to the band parents and the students and to make everyone feel welcome. And that was really the first time in history that has ever happened. Mr. Wilson, the band director, said that it's the first time that has ever happened. So I'm very grateful. I know that everyone felt much more comfortable with their students getting on a bus and going 2.5 hours away to Nowhere Land and having seen you. So thank you.
Thank you, Tom. May I have a motion? Oh, wait, do you have anyone? No. Yes. Hello, Jean. No, there you go.
Muted.
You're muted.
Okay. Hello?
Hi, Jean.
Hi, how are you? Gene Sunick, 1094 Buckingham Road. I just want to say that to a comment that followed my comment, I'm very involved in the community, and this is not a loud voice that you see in the room. It's the entire majority of the room that is opposed to it. And the parents that I speak to, and let me tell you, I speak to a lot of parents, they're also opposed to it. And they're the quiet ones. And they're the ones that go into the voting booth and they vote. And, the voices here really say and talk what the community feels, including the quiet ones, the louder ones, the not so louder ones, so on and so forth. And everything gets, there's a reason why people go and, didn't vote Esther back in. So she was on the board and now she's not. And I think those are the quiet ones that voted for, and those are the quiet, loud, and everybody else that's here speaking their mind. We're not the loud ones. We're the ones fighting for our kids. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
What's that?
She didn't
vote. She did vote it out. What can't?
Hi, so Michal Komonescu, 254 Tom Hunter Road. So I wanted to ask to bring up the fact that Middletown opted in for their sex ed. I think there's something to consider about that. But I also wanted to ask a question on when are we gonna have a talk about this side of the curriculum? So according to New Jersey Standard for Education, you have to implement sex ed and trans identity in all other classes outside of sex ed. And per the provisions here, there's not opt-out for this status. The other question is, so implementing the law, they give you some resources on how to do gender identity math, gender identity literature, and so on. When would the board touch this side of the curriculum, and how would this topic spill out of sex ed into the rest of the curriculum?
So that's with regards to the individuals with disabilities and LGBTQ New Jersey state mandate to implement the contributions of individuals in the LGBTQ population and the contributions of students with disabilities across content areas in middle and high school. And so that, you may see that, and again, it's the contributions of individuals. You may see that in English, you may see that in social studies, in certain areas of the curriculum.
Would that be for review as well, such as you did with the current curriculum, or no?
We actually, that was supposed to be implemented, I believe, last September, and we included that in a board presentation to the community.
Okay. And there's any way of, having further feedback on this issue, or no? I mean, and, adjust the classes, say, based on parental feedback.
Well, again, we always welcome parents to view our curriculum online and send us feedback. And then you also, as a parent, can certainly ask the teacher to provide you with the materials that are being used. So if you see something in the curriculum that you have a question about, a book that's being read, or anything of that nature, you can certainly talk to your child's teacher about it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, everybody. I just want to reiterate my support with everyone that's speaking tonight. I don't think we are the loud voices. I think we're representative of what most parents want. And I want the board to take that into consideration. I stand with the comments made by all the parents here tonight. And I think that you guys should probably push this back and explore it further, because in addition to everything that we've discussed, this is all brand new. You don't know the ramifications of implementing all of these things upon children in the future. The consequences of it. It could be, you know, consequences that last a lifetime. So I think you really need to consider it very carefully, like someone said, and consider how people could be hurt without you guys hearing their voices about what they want, because they're the ones that have to live with the ramifications of things that are not done necessarily the best that they could be done. So this should be explored further. Thank you. That's it. Did you hear me?
Thank you.
Okay.
Hey guys, it's me again. I just wanted to follow up on that. I wasn't saying that Fort Lee was gonna show, you know, erotic cartoons, and I was confused about the masturbation one because I didn't hear that y'all were not teaching it. But we do know where this road leads. We've seen the outlandish stories across in the news across the country when it comes to hypersexualizing our children. And I think it's something we should, like the previous person said, we should consider the future of our kids and let the parents discuss the sexualization, because there's plays being made here by activist groups like we just talked about. And it's just, I think, pump the brakes. If we can do the whole reverse the opt-in, opt-out thing where you have to opt in, please go that route. Because I think the majority does speak here, and I hope I wasn't yelling before, but I was extremely angry before, so I apologize if that came through. But I just wanted to clarify that I wasn't suggesting that Fort Lee was gonna show erotic cartoons, but we have seen it in the news. We've seen it all across. So hopefully this is something we should take into consideration of this avenue that we're about to take with our children. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Any other raised hands? That's good. Esther, are you on?
All righty. You know, I was like cleaning up in the kitchen, you know, listening, had no intentions of coming back. But first point, I was not voted out. I didn't lose an election. I didn't run again. So it's a big difference. So wanted to clarify that. Second thing is, you know, all of these parents who are like basically threatening the board, like, oh, you know, we're going to vote you out. That means crap, because unless other people run, it doesn't mean anything. You know, even for this year's slate, I think there's only, you know, every year 3 people are up for re-election. Even this year, there's only 4 people running. I believe, 2 are incumbents and the other 2 are new. So unless you get new people, you know, your threats of not voting them in don't really mean anything. So, you know, maybe this will compel someone next year to run. You know, so that was really my point. I'm not going to beat a dead horse about everything else. But, you know, in case it wasn't clear from my other comments, you know, I am supporting this. I would not have, you know, my kids are older, obviously. So, you know, you may kind of poo-poo this, but, you know, if they were younger, I wouldn't have an issue with them learning some of this, because, you know, I'm of the belief that knowledge is power. And, you know, we need to empower our children with knowledge. So that's it. Thank you.
Do we have any other raised hands? I have a motion to close the floor to the public. Motion on that. Second. Motion Ramba, second Richter, all in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, let's move on to resolutions. Excuse me. I make a motion to approve items 1B and 2B. Motion Rubino, second Ramba. Roll call, please.
Ms. Curry,
Yes.
Ms. Ramba,
Yes.
Ms. Cho, Ms. Richter,
Yes, I abstained to my own name on 2B.
so noted. Mr. Rubino,
Yes, stated my own name on 2B as well.
so noted. Ms. Stasu,
Yes.
Ms. Colbath,
Yes.
motion carries.
May I have a motion to approve items 1 CUR through 6 CUR? Motion Ramba.
Second.
Motion Ramba, second by Richter. Roll call, please.
Ms. Richter,
Yes.
Ms. Curry,
Yes, with the exception, I vote no on 3 CUR and 5 CUR.
so noted. Mr. Rubino,
Exactly the same. Yes, exception of 3 CUR, the comprehensive health, and no to 3 CUR and no to 5 CUR. Everything else, yes.
So on 3 CUR, it includes the
There's no
entire district
comprehensive
curriculum?
health and physical education voting on.
Okay, and is that the same for you, Kim?
Yes.
Okay. But you're approving the rest of the curriculum?
Not 5 CUR.
Not 5 CUR.
Okay.
Ms. Ramba,
Yes.
Ms. Stasu,
Absolutely not to 3 CUR's health curriculum, but everything else, I'm not approving 5 CUR either.
so noted. Ms. Cho,
I have a question, actually. Is it better to just
We're done with the question period.
Done. Vote.
Because Lester always chastises
Only
me
because
at the end of the
would it make
meeting.
sense to table CUR as in regards to that?
So procedurally, whether it makes sense or not is perhaps a bit late now, because procedurally, there's been a motion properly moved and seconded, and we're beyond the question discussion phase. I can vote yes, and no, or abstain, the question at hand.
Except then if it's voted down anyhow, everything but that portion of the other curriculum that voted yes on, or how does that work? Because
I missed what
essentially,
you said.
so by voting and saying, so just so that everyone can understand what's happening too, and I'm sorry to step in and mask this, but by saying no to the 3 CUR except for that portion, then everything else gets passed through.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
And by statute, we have to have an approved curriculum, all content areas, by the beginning of the school year.
Right, except if we table.
It's a yes or a no.
Well,
So it's table, the motion, to table it has to be a separate motion. to table.
Right, so I.
Table means postpone. The motion was made to approve this, board members, I always say this is not Congress, so we don't have to be strictly procedurally proper, pursuant to Robert's rules, as long as we're close. The motion was for 1 through 5, or the 6 CUR. I think it's perfectly acceptable for board members to vote yes, no, abstain, et cetera, in various sections, and or as in this instance to vote yes in part, no in part, so to say, as subpart. So the question is, do you vote yes, no, abstain, or do you have some other combination?
So I say yes, except I abstain from the part on 3 CUR.
It's a cop out.
I can hear you, Julie.
so you're abstaining on 3 CUR, the health curriculum, and 5 CUR? So noted. Ms. Colbath,
I approve all except I abstain, no, I vote no on the health curriculum for 3 CUR. And I understand we've got, the clock is ticking, but we did just get this recently, and we'll work diligently to get something back on in future agenda.
so noted. Does that complete your vote, Ms. Paula?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 3 yeses for 3 CUR health.
Who is the third?
Do we have 8 people here?
Yes.
No, we have 7 people. I apologize. We have 2 yeses for the curriculum, 3 CUR health curriculum, so that is voted down.
I'm sorry, Ms. Taylor, did you just state the number of yes, no's, and abstentions so the record is clear? State the outcome of the vote. How many yeses, how many no's, how many abstentions?
I'm trying to count them. It's a little complicated. Give me 1 second.
No, I know, when you said 2, you said it fails, I just want the record. No's and how many abstentions they were, that's all. Thank you.
So there are 2 yeses, 1 abstention. 2 plus 1 is 3, and there are 7 people here and 4 no's.
Right.
And if you could assist me, let's do that, might be helpful because it's a lot. So it would be helpful if you could confirm those are accurate. Secondly,
I'll just defer to you as board secretary.
for 5 CUR, we have 1 no, 2 no, 3 no, 4 no's. 1, 2, 3, 4 no's for 5 CUR. And there's 7 people, so there are 3 no's for 5 CUR, 1 abstention for 5 CUR. Paula did not say the 5 CUR. So there's 3, again, there are 3 no's, 1 abstention, and 3 yeses.
That doesn't pass.
For 5 CUR?
Correct.
Nope.
So it does not pass. All others pass.
Okay, may I have a motion to approve 1F through 8F?
Motion.
Second, Ramba. Motion, Rubino, second, Ramba. Roll call.
Ms. Joe?
Yes.
Ms. Curry?
Yes.
Mr. Rubino? Mr. Rubino, did you say yes?
Mike, 1F through 8F?
Okay, thank you. Ms. Richter?
Yes.
Ms. Stasu?
Yes.
Ms. Ramba?
Yes.
Ms. Colbath?
Yes.
Motion carries.
May I have a motion to approve items 1P through 17P?
Ms. Colbath, 11P, we need to make that amendment on the title. Ms. Jungle is not the Director of Human Resources.
So on 11P, we have a correction on the line affirmative action officer opposite Catherine Drumgold. It should state Director of School Counseling, like on the first line, and in lieu of the Director of Human Resources. So I'll entertain a motion to approve items 1P to 17P. Motion.
Second.
Motion Curry, second Rubino, roll call, please.
Ms. Joe?
Yes.
She said yes.
Mr. Rubino?
Yes.
Ms. Ramba?
Yes.
Ms. Stasu?
Voting yes to all except 1 name on 15P. Congratulations, Celeste, for being offered this, and Diego and Tim Ford. I'm delirious. I'm sorry.
Ms. Richter?
Yes.
Ms. Curry?
Yes.
Ms. Colbath?
Yes.
Motion carries.
May I have a motion to approve items 1 POL and 2 POL? Motion Ramba.
What is that?
Motion Ramba, second Curry? Cho. Roll call, please.
Ms. Joe?
Yes.
Mr. Rubino?
Yes.
Ms. Stasu?
Can you come back to me, please?
Ms. Ramba?
Yes.
Ms. Curry?
Yes.
Ms. Richter?
Yes.
Ms. Colbath?
Yes.
Ms. Stasu?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Moving on, is there any old business? Is there any new business?
I actually have a question.
No.
Yes.
Just with regards to the committees, are we still getting the committee minutes by any chance for review for the board? After they meet, are we getting the minutes for this?
I have not received the most recent minutes from the committees.
I'm just surprised in terms of the curriculum committee and what was there. Like, how did it get on the agenda if some of the stuff wasn't? You see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, I think
where
the
is that
meeting
going?
was last Monday or Tuesday.
It was last week.
That was last week, and we had the deadline, and this was the last meeting. I mean, it was something that has been really worked on, taken seriously, and I know that they were working really hard on it, and, you know, it was,
We didn't even get it, Paula, we didn't get the actual curriculum till Thursday, Wednesday, Thursday.
That being said, the reason for my abstaining, I don't think I should have to substantiate why I abstained.
You don't have to.
Given, you don't, right, so
No one.
the questions that I had asked when we were voting on it, there's something wrong with this process. Because the way that we actually, all of us in now vote on these items, we hear the public comment, we hear the people from Zoom land, and we can't discuss it again as a board. Is that the way it's supposed to be, or is it something?
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, we would have, you know, preferred, this is a unique situation with this particular curriculum that required, you know, more intensive work and research. I don't even think on Monday when we met, we actually had all of the curriculum at that point, correct? Yeah, and so we all, the board all got it at the same time, at the meeting.
Yep.
That we would circulate it to the full board, you know, so we all received it real time, same time. And again, you know, our preference is always to get things to the board ahead of time so that we can have some substantive discussion. This was just a project that was, you know, very sensitive and was being looked at from every angle and lots of people involved. And so, you know, and they were working as diligently as possible.
But certainly also, Elisa, you could have come to me or any of us and asked us what's going on, or we, you know, or Diane and asked, this has been going on for months, this whole process.
Well, we work by committee.
Not ours, but we could have, I've asked Diane several questions over the past couple of months. I mean, if someone had a question about it, they could have gone to either Robert, you know, Mr. Kravitz or Ms. Baker.
We operate under a committee system. The committee reviews things, issues a report to the board. The committee report, you know, gets discussed, and so.
And this is the time to have those discussions. That's the main thing.
I recognize
it is. She's right.
And Elisa, that would be our preference. This was something that I think that our administration was waiting to see whether there would be an extension. There were a lot of discussions and pressure going on. And then when it appeared that there wouldn't be, you know, they put their foot on the gas pedal and did the best they could.
Well, can I just make a comment also?
Sure.
You know, I voted yes because I knew the public got their no votes. But I also did like to support Ms. Baker because of all the hard work she put into it. And I have faith that she's going to take things into consideration that the parents said. And I also speaking up because our phys ed teachers and health teachers were not pedophiles and predators. For people to say that about them when nothing is going on there. You know, it's totally, I understand that you thought and harder on it, you know, and you guys, you know, had your, you know, but a lot of work and time is coming to this, and it's something that we have to do, and we can work it and fix it to, I know she's taking notes religiously, all the ideas and the things the parents were saying. So I just wanted to.
I mean, it was behind the scenes, it was absolutely incredible, the amount of work and research and the presentation and everything. It's just, you know, I think that there are some things to be fine-tuned. Yes. Yeah. Oh, I thought you were going to say something.
No.
May I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Everyone is off in favor? Aye. Any abstentions? Opposition? Thank you all.
I don't know.